Thank you all for being here with us this evening. Board, we need to consider items discussed in closed session. Do I have a motion?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve all personnel recommendations, including resignations, new hires, administrative contract renewals, and extensions as presented by administration.
Thank you, Ms. Duke. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Cox. It's a motion by Ms. Duke, a second by Ms. Cox. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. Next, I need a motion to consider the principal for Etheridge Elementary.
I make a motion to approve Tasha Thompson as principal of Etheridge Elementary as recommended by administration and a personnel selection committee. Sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Latham. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you. Ooh. Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. That is a motion by Ms. We have to vote. We have to vote.
We have to vote. Hang on. Wait.
Okay. That's a motion by Ms. Latham, a second by Ms. Vaughn. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Now, Ms. Thompson, would you come to the front so that we can recognize you? And those of you who are from Etheridge, if you would like to join her up on stage. Yes. Ms. Thompson. Come to the mic and introduce
you. Thank you very much. I am extremely honored at being announced as the new principal for Etheridge Elementary, and I am extremely excited about what our future holds for us together. Thank you, teachers, for joining me here for the big announcement, and my family. I've got my son Daniel Thompson and Hannah Thompson, and then my husband Tim, and my two older daughters. One is graduating in a month from OSU, so she was hoping to join us via Skype, but I told her that would be a little conspicuous. And then my second daughter at Texas State is also in the middle of term papers and such. So again, I am very, very honored, and I just am so excited to begin the new year.
Could we all have y'all come up here, and then we'll take a group picture? Congratulations, Ms. Thompson. All right, next we will move on to awards, recognitions, and presentations. First up, we have our Number Sense recognition. With Mr. Ferguson? Where is he? Oh, there he is.
Good evening. We are excited to recognize these winners of the 11th annual LISD Number Sense competition. And so to do the honors, we've invited Dr. Tom Ferguson, who is a longtime friend of LISD and former board member, and he actually was the initiator of bringing this competition to an annual event here in LISD. So Dr. Ferguson, come on up.
Thank you, Ms. Doring. I may look like an old person to you, but actually I'm a student. I graduate on May 15th from University of Texas at Arlington with my PhD in mathematics. So, never give up. I graduated from Texas A&M in 1979. I nearly said 1879. Wow. And now I'm getting my PhD in 2015. Pretty crazy, huh? It was a privilege to be on the school board here from 2003 to 2012. And thank you, Madam Chairman, and the rest of the board for the opportunity to speak to you again and recognize these great students. It's a privilege to work with them and help them develop their God-given talent in mathematics. We always have this once a year, as Ms. Doring said. This year they complained that the test was too easy. So I'm going to fix that this year, and we'll make it a little bit harder next year. So I forgot there's a packet, all right? We were canceled out by the winter storm, so we had a little bit lower participation this year. So we had just 3 guys come out tonight for the winners. The top freshman scorer was Akshay Durvasala. If you would come up. He was also the 3rd place scorer. Come on over here. 3rd place scorer was this same young man from Flower Mound High School. 2nd place scorer from Flower Mound High School is Sagurav Purish Hoffman. Did I say something like that? Sorry. Congratulations. And the winner this year, I believe, you scored 355. Is that right? So that means out of the 80 problems, you missed 5 in 10 minutes. You guys can't believe how intense this test is. Aditya Durvasala. Congratulations. Very good.
Congratulations.
And their sponsor is Miss Megan Yukin. She will come up with them. Congratulations. This was the first year back in 2004, Lewisville High School won it. This is the 10th year in a row that Flower Mound High School has won. So I don't know what it's going to take to break it. Mr. O'Brien over at Hebron is going crazy trying to figure out how to beat them. But by the way, Mr. O'Brien did win the coaches award this year, which was a $20 gift certificate in the form of a $20 bill. So I just pulled it out of my pocket and gave it to him. Anyway, Mr. Burnett, are you ready? Okay, every year I give them a problem. One year I messed up and said the problem wrong. It stumped everybody. So are you guys ready? Make sure I read the problem correctly. I'm going to give them a problem, and you're going to be stunned how quickly they answer it. You all ready? 45 squared plus 135 squared. 20250. That is correct.
That's why you won.
So pretty amazing. Try doing that with your calculator, right? You can't. It'll take you 5 minutes even to write that down, right? All right, we're now going to take the picture, right? Miss Lales, principal of Flower Mound here. Come on up for the picture. Yeah, and I'm sorry, the parents. Will the parents want to stand? Let's recognize them. I don't know if it's or the parents. Oh. Okay. Dr. T-Ferg. That's my last name.
All right. Thank you. So next we have the UIL State swimming and diving athletes. Dr. Rogers?
So we're going to ask Coach Ford, the athletic director for Lewisville ISD, to come and get it started.
We've got an incredible group of students and coaches that have represented us well at state. I believe there's 48 or 58 of these athletes, and that's an incredible number. And I'm going to go ahead and get going on it. This is Coach Snow from Flower Mound.
Thank you very much, Coach Ford. I'd like to start off introducing the 2015 state participants finishing 10th this year at the 6A Swim and Dive Championships with our 6A Coach of the Year, Dive Coach of the Year, Sherry McGuire.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Andrew Shirtlift. The second year he returned to the state meet. He placed 8th. First team All Texas and 2014 All-American. Andrew will be attending TCU next year and diving for them. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce our boys medley relay, finishing sixth this year at state with an All-American time of 1:35.13. First of all, our backstroker, sophomore Stephen Chang, parents Hang and Wendy. Also, Stephen competed in the 200 IM, finishing 14th with a time of 1:55.58, and 13th in the 100 backstroke with a time of 52.19. Our breaststroker for this relay was Jarek Wong. His parents are Charles and Hing. Also, Jarek competed in the 100 breaststroke, finishing second in state with a time of 55.92, which puts him ninth in the history of Texas swimming in 100 breaststroke. Again, an All-American time. Our butterfly for that relay was Garrett Holcroft, parents Doug and Rochelle. Our freestyler for that relay would be Aiden Glenn, parents Raymond and Pamela. Our girls 200 freestyle relay, we have two of those young ladies. Two of them, they're coaches. They're still practicing and getting ready for their college seasons. But we have sophomore Samantha Porter, parents Charlie and Julie. Also, Samantha competed in the 200 freestyle, finishing fourth, a time of 1:51.01, and eighth in the 100 freestyle with a time of 52.79. Kristen Whitaker, this is her fourth year to compete at state. Parents William and Linda, she ended up ninth in the 50 freestyle and the time of 24.15. The two young ladies that are not here are seniors, Mackenzie Murphy, parents Dave and Kirby, and Megan Seaman, who's also a water polo player. That is her parents Jim and Penny. Their time of the 200 freestyle relay ending up 10th with an All-American consideration time of 1:38.59. Our swim and dive team. Thank you.
If any of those parents are here, if they'd stand up at this time. Parents? Your parents? Thank you. There you go. From Lewisville High School, Coach Gargan.
Thank you, Coach Ford. I'd like to introduce Kara Eisenman. Kara represented Lewisville High School. She goes to Harmon High School. She was our district champion in the 100 fly, 100 backstroke. She was the regional champion in the 100 fly and 100 backstroke. She made All-American. She's currently ranked 25th in the nation in the 100 fly. Her parents are here, Mr. and Mrs. Eisenman. Kara.
From Marcus High School, Coach Gillespie.
Thank you. I'd like to start with our LISD diving coach and our state champion.
Mackenzie Wilborn, 3 times at state. Her sophomore year, she placed third. Her junior year, she placed second. And this year, 3rd time's the charm. She's Texas state champion. She was 2013-2014 NISCA All-American, and she's the TISCA Diver of the Year. Mackenzie will be attending Duke, diving for Duke next year, and she has, please look for her in the Olympic trials in 2016 because she's already qualified. Mackenzie will.
I would like to introduce, a little loud, sorry. I'd like to introduce Riley Thornton, a recent TCU signee. Riley. I'd like to introduce senior Sarah Stone, a recent New York University signee. Junior Carly Leonard. And sophomore Lauren Savoy. These four ladies broke a long-set school record in the 400 freestyle relay. Also swimming single events at the high school state meet, placing in the top 12. I'd like to introduce Ethan Grill, the first male at Marcus in 8 years, I believe, to go to high school state in the 100 backstroke. And he was the regional winner. If you build it, they will come. The LISD swimmers and divers want to thank the school board for approving, building, and opening the new aquatic center. Thank you. Parents, would you please stand? Parents of these athletes, would you please stand? Yay, Miss Wilborn. Mr. Schaeferman, are you here? Awesome.
From the Colony, Coach Peel.
Good evening. The Colony High School swim team had a great year. We took 3rd at districts and 9th and 12th at regions. And also we had a freshman, Emma Garfield, break 4 team records, take 2nd at state in the 200 individual medley and 5th in the 100 butterfly. So, way to go, Emma. We'd like to recognize Brian Garfield. I think he's out there. And Mr. Hill.
Yeah. All right, moving from swimming to wrestling, we have Flower Mound, Coach Davis.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am proud to introduce to you the nucleus of our wrestling team at Flower Mound, who this season captured their 9th consecutive district championship. These seniors, the 2 closest to me, have finished in the top 3 in the regional all 4 years, and they've appeared in the state tournament as a team all 4 years. The first one I'd like to introduce is Mr. Zach Green. Zach had a season record of 40-17. He was a state participant, and more importantly, He's an academic all-stater. The gentleman in the center, Mr. Blaine Odom, 152-pounder, is also an academic all-stater, a first-team academic all-stater, finished fourth in the state this year at 152 pounds. And on the far end, we've got Mr. Bada Douglas. Bada is a sophomore, so he's got 2 more years to go. He had a record this year of 42-6, and he was the bronze medalist at 126 pounds. Big round of applause for the gentleman, please. Parents, if you could please stand, we'd like to recognize you for your contribution as well. Miss Lell, if you could please join us.
From Hebron High School, Coach Rosansky. Come on.
Hi, my name is Coach Rosansky. I'm the head wrestling coach at Hebron High School. It's an honor to be here. One thing that I said also, I was here last year and it was a great experience. I'm glad to be back. I'm thankful to be back because of these kids right here. We're missing our 4th member, Michael Brackman, but out of our 4 state qualifiers this year, Hebron Wrestling took 9th place. It was the 2nd year in a row where we placed 10th at placed in the top 10 at state. So again, I'm thankful and grateful for the kids that I get to coach every day. And to introduce them, we have DC Scott here on the end. He took 3rd place. In the middle, we have Austin O'Connor. He's a junior state qualifier. And then we have our heavyweight, Jarrett Lee, who was here last year and came back this year as a state champion. Oh, okay. Yeah, and I'd like to thank all the parents of the wrestlers. Thanks for. And I appreciate their support, and the kids appreciate their support also. So. It's a big thanks to the parents.
If your parents, please stand. Mr. Fink.
From Lewisville, Coach Peterson, Coach Daniel.
Good evening. I'm Noel Peterson. I'm the wrestling coach for the men's at Lewisville High School. What a wonderful opportunity it's been for me to work with these 3 fine young state qualifiers. I'm truly blessed to be back in Lewisville after a long time gone, so I can associate myself with amazing student athletes. We had 3 state qualifiers this year. We had 1 my first year, 2 my second year, 3 this year, and only 7 more years, and we'll have the whole team going. Baby steps, a little at a time. We'll start with our junior, Chris Hamill. He was a state qualifier for us, did a fine job at state, and we're looking for him to come back next year and do some more. He's right now competing at the freestyle and Greco season. Last year he was on the Team State Texas and competed in Florida representing the state of Texas in the cadet division. My next 2 athletes are both seniors, and I'm really going to miss them a lot. They've been a pleasure to work with for 3 years, and they're going to be hard to replace. Although the first one, George, does have a younger brother, and I love him to death. George was our district champ this year and a state qualifier. He was 1 match out of actually medaling, had a phenomenal run at the end of the season. Incredible athlete, incredible young man. Our last athlete is Xavier Franklin. You got the fan club today, huh? Nice. Xavier wrestled 126 pounds, was 4th in the state. He lost in the semifinals by 1 point, and then he lost for 3rd and 4th in triple overtime, so it was a very competitive state tournament for him. One of our captains, and just a pleasure to coach and to be around. I believe George and Xavier both are going to go to North Texas next year, and I'm looking forward to wrestling at North Texas. So, if you could give the young men I would also like to thank the parents of these fine young men. Parents, if you're here, would you please stand up? Thank you. All right.
Good evening. My name is Joe Daniel. I'm the head girls coach at Lewisville High School. Our team did well. We were the district runner-up and regional champion, finished in the top 10 at state. I'd like to introduce our ladies. The first one is a district and regional runner-up state qualifier, Elizabeth Pagano. Next, we have a district and regional runner-up state qualifier, Angelica Rodriguez. Next is the district and regional champion, state qualifier, Jezebel Prado. Next is the district champion, 4th at regional, top 10 finisher at state, Jordan Lee. Lastly is a 4-time district and 4-time regional champion. She was 49-0 this year. Has a 4-year combined record of 154-16. She's a 2-time state champion, Brittany Marshall.
From Marcus High School, Coach Preto.
Good evening, folks. Coach Prado from Marcus High School, and tonight I'd like to honor our state qualifier, senior Lucas Lovell. Lucas was a four-time district placer, two-time district champion in our District 6. He qualified for the state this year, and he was also previously a two-time state alternate. This year, along with our two other wrestlers who were state alternates, Lucas had over 30 victories in all 4 years for Marcus High School. Very enjoyable person to coach. I'd actually coached against his father years ago at another high school, so full generation of wrestling. Lucas plans to attend University of Oklahoma and study business. Please honor Lucas Lovell. Yeah, Danny, if you and Robin will come on up for a picture.
From the Colony, Coach Brown.
The Colony High School had 4 representatives at the state tournament this year. The 2 young ladies at the end, they represent the first year the Colony High School had girls wrestling. Summerlin Lewis was a district runner-up, a regional runner-up, and then a state qualifier. She had a great year for us. Charlie Hammer, in addition to playing soccer during wrestling season, Charlie was a district champion, a regional champion, and ended up finishing 6th at the state tournament, and then a few weeks later finished 8th in the nation at Folk Style Nationals. So we're real proud of her. Andrew Brown on the far end, closest to me, was a 2-time state qualifier. This year he was a district champion, a regional champion. He won over 40 matches. In the second round of the state tournament, he injured his shoulder, but continued to fight through and had a good season, for a fantastic season for us this year. So Andrew Brown. And then finally, since his name's up there too, Jake Green was a 3-time district champion, 2-time state. This was his second year to place at state. Last year he placed 6th at state. This year he was a regional champion, and then he got to the state tournament, had another fantastic tournament, ended up winning the state championship, and then he did the Icky Shuffle on stage, or on the mat. It was fantastic. So Jake Green. No matter how much you pay him, he won't do it again. Come on, Jake, one more time. No. Our wrestlers had some fantastic parents that supported them all year, so if our parents from the Colony Wrestling would stand up. I got a couple over here that are taking pictures, a whole bunch of them taking pictures over here. And we have some grandparents here, so if Grandma wants to stand up, we'll recognize her too. There we go.
Change the sports again. Last but certainly not least, our Flower Mound girls basketball. Coach Nelson.
Good evening. My name is Sherk Nelson. I'm a head girls basketball coach. And these are my lovely children behind me. I call them my children because I have 70 children every year that never graduate. So it was a remarkable year this year. We went 28-8, which is a school record for us. Also, I don't know if this is a fact, but I think this is the only second team in LISD history for a girls team to go to the state tournament in LISD. I think 86 Lewisville went to the state tournament, but I can't find another one in record. So it's a very amazing feat. All year we had obstacles to overcome. Plano West was our biggest obstacle. They beat us twice in district, once by I think 28 and the other time by 11, and then we beat them by 3 in the regional tournament to go to the state tournament. So it was an amazing year. As you can tell, we have 5 seniors I'm going to miss dearly, but we have unfinished business next year. We hope to get back to San Antonio and finish the deal next year. So I'm going to introduce them one by one. And by the way, it's amazing how the community can rally a team. And as we got further and further, these kids really, really fed off the parents and the fans and the community, the administration, the school board. It was amazing, so we thank you for that. First, we have Kinsey Grill. Kayla Mount, who is a senior. She'll be playing at Oklahoma Christian next year. We have Hannah Miller. Courtney Fields, who will be playing at Texas A&M Commerce. We have Marin Mills, Pearl Shea, Emma McCarron, Allison Monahan, Julia Knight, Hannah Alcoin, Stephanie Bridges, Lauren Cox, Melissa Johnstone, and our trainers were Emily Bird and Haley Loftus, and then our student coaches were Audrey Littlefield and Jolie Starling, who also played on my JV team. They got to go down and experience state with us. And my assistant coaches, Leanna Stockdale, varsity assistant, and Danny Gillen, my JV coach. So absolutely remarkable. Thank you for all your support, and hopefully we'll be back next year. Do we have any parents here? I know Mr. Starling's here. I think they dropped him off and took a night out, actually. They know they're in good hands with me. They said, Coach, you got them. We're going to dinner.
Those are yours. All right. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to.
All right. Next up, we have our National PTA Reflections winners. Dr. Rogers?
If I could have Mr. Taggart, Principal of McCamey, and Ms. Hyunga, Principal of Old Settlers.
Well, first of all, I'd like to introduce an excellent student, Gia Lee. She has had straight A's her entire way through McCamey and will receive the Principal's Award at the end of the year for that. She's being recognized tonight for her essay being recognized nationally in PTA Reflections. Obviously, very well written, themes of charity and compassion, but what spoke to me about the essay was a coming-of-age story about a young adult becoming more aware of the people around her in terms of compassion. Her parents, Jong Soo and Ji Young, are here tonight. I'd like to ask you to stand. McCamey is very proud of Gia.
AJ entered in the photography category. Stop and Smell the Roses was the name of his entry. And I think it's important to note, too, that only 30 entries made it to nationals from Texas and only 2 from LISD. And these are the 2 right here in front of you that made it that far. So that's a big accomplishment. And AJ's parents are also here today, Alan and Mary Ann Fallhaber. And we will get the final results of the national competition, I believe, in June to see how they did there. So, good luck.
All right, and next we have our our All-State Orchestra students. Mr. Watson.
Good evening. Last month, the orchestra folks had a conflict and couldn't come, and this month they have a conflict and can't come, but I'm going to announce their names, and I think they're shy also. We had 5 All-State Orchestra students from Flower Mound. That was a school record. And they are Young Hodge Young on viola, Tyler Jacoby on viola. They made it for the first time. These people made it for the second time. Bass Andrew Dunlap, violin Aditya Durvasula. They made it twice. And then Erin Huang on cello. This is her third time. It's really hard to make orchestra. They tape it in 28 regions, send all the tapes in, go through about 6 or 7 rounds, and just a minute number gets selected. So that's our All-State Orchestra.
All right, next we will move on to a public hearing on the College Street Reconstitution Plan. So we are conducting a public hearing. Is there anyone present who would like to make comments during this public hearing? If so, please come to the mic. And I don't see anyone, so I now declare this public hearing closed. We will now move into our open forum. Persons desiring to address the Board of Trustees must fill out a speaker's card prior to the meeting. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes. The Board cannot deliberate on any subject that is not included on the agenda. For those of you who may be here for the first time, we will respectfully listen to what you have to say, and then someone from administration will follow up with you, so just so that you know you will have a response sent back. First, we have T.J. Gilmore, Mayor Pro Tem of Lewisville.
Just push it once and it's good. Outstanding. Thank you so much for your time today. I am here to speak on behalf of the City of Lewisville for item K3. As you can see in your board packet, we have some ancillary information from the previous administration, so there has been an approval on this. Lewisville residents have spent the last year, much like the strategic design program, designing our own Vision 2025 plan. And one of those major components is what we call extending the green. Our goal: to take Leela from a weekend type of environmental outpost and make it a public daily event. Make it a place where our students, our residents, and people from around the region can enjoy an amazing green centerpiece for our city. So that is the goal. We hope that we can work with the ISD, and of course UNT is very excited about the program. Not only is it our participation, but it's also our investment. So this is like the last piece that we need, and we would really appreciate you voting yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Bailey Vaughn.
Hello, members of the school board. My name is Bailey Vaughn, and I'm a representative from the Hebron High School softball team, and furthermore, an advocate for change. You have all received an email from me, and I give you my condolences that I have not been prompt to reply. Please understand I have been in season, so all of my efforts and focus have been on the field and in the classroom. I stand before you respectfully yet adamant. The Hebron softball field has recently undergone a plethora of quick fixes, and while I cannot express my gratitude toward the board for hearing my pleas, no fix is drastic enough as to actually solve the ineffable fact. The Hebron softball facilities are heterogeneous to that of our fellow LISD high schools. I am aware and grateful of the conciliatory nature of the board, so I do not wish to reiterate the unfathomable construction flaws, but simply leave you with a metaphor. A father has 5 children. To the first child, he gives a diamond ring. The second, a brand new car. The third, a diamond necklace. The last 2 children are left with nothing, only the inevitable question: why would my parents get 3 of my siblings beautiful presents and remorselessly leave us empty-handed? The last 2 children are Hebron and the Colony. We are made to feel like the stepchildren of the district. The distribution of funds in the budget proves my analogy true. When the fields were inadequate at Flower Mound and Marcus, reparations were made immediately. Hebron and Flower Mound were both built in 1999, yet for some reason the facilities of Flower Mound are unparalleled while Hebron is left to its own devices. Expensive bandages are being applied on a situation that in the end would cost as much as a brand new field. I am extremely proud to go to Hebron High School and as an extension be a part of LISD. Nothing makes me happier than playing softball for Hebron, but unfortunately I have extreme melancholy when I stroll up to our unmanicured and unfortunate field. To allude to Sojourner Truth's Ain't I a Woman speech on African American women's suffrage, I conclude with, aren't we a high school in LISD, just like Marcus, Lewisville, and Flower Mound? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Wayetta Agondo. I'm sorry, I know I probably said that wrong. I'm sorry.
Good evening, board. My name is Wyatta Robinson Oquendo, and I am a parent of a student in Creek Valley Middle School. When I read the LISD board member's responsibility oath, it clearly states you are called to serve and not be selective in who you serve. Educational Code 11.151, item number 10, states the power and duty of board members is to properly maintain district financial procedures and records. If we look at the dollars spent and where they are spent, will it reflect what you are called to do? The last $20 million of bond money is a perfect opportunity to do the right thing and balance the books if dollars spent are not a reflection of fair and equal distribution. The National Clearinghouse for Educational Facilities states, a facilities maintenance plan details an organization's strategy for proactively maintaining its facilities, and it should be a reflection of the vision and missions of the organization. In this case, LISD. It should include an accurate assessment of the existing facilities and incorporate the perspectives of various stakeholder groups that have stood before you on numerous occasions, requesting your support for replacement of the softball field, safety and code violations, potential flooding hazards in case of an emergency, and the upgrade of student facilities that will seat all students. The last $20 million of the bond package is to be spent. When will that be determined? When will there be a plan? When will the plan be made public? Will it be spent to address any of the requests that have already been made? Are you holding administrators responsible for monies being spent? LISD Board of Education members, I respectfully ask you to make the right decision and that the decision clearly reflects that you are not selective in who you choose to serve.
Thank you. Next, we have Melanie Lamb.
First, I better address, I was here to speak about the proclamation. Is that something that I can speak about tonight? That is, okay. I just want to make sure because I knew it was on the agenda. That came to my attention, and I've been following some of the issues with Common Core. not just nationwide where there are states that have been implemented, but also in Texas, because we are seeing it creep in to different ISDs across the state. And I'm not saying that it is within LISD per se, and that we do abide by HB 462, but because of the instructional materials, and especially Pearson, where the materials are Common Core aligned, that this may present a problem if the district decides to make the purchase of this particular vendor's materials. I don't know about the others, but I know Pearson glares because that is kind of their motivation, not just even on a national level, but on a global level. So I just wanted to voice my concern that when you go tonight, and I know you have to make this proclamation, that you diligently review what instructional materials are introduced to our schools, and that you watch the Common Core element of these materials, that they do not bring in some of the bad elements of Common Core, and that's all I'm asking is for some vigilance. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have William Tabor.
Good evening, Board and Administration. Thank you for your time. I just wanted to introduce myself to you. I'm here with regard to item number L2A on the agenda, which is around an emergency access easement. I have purchased the property just to the right here, I think, on the north side, and redeveloping that. I guess it's kind of been known as the car wash over the years. And looking to build an assisted living facility in that area. So I just want to take a minute to introduce myself to you tonight and share with you a little bit about that. We've completed the zoning process with the city to switch to medical district, as well as the building plans have been just recently approved. And the site plan has also been reviewed and approved by the city. I've thought positive and anticipated an positive outcome from tonight's discussions and along with the school board. And so our site plan does anticipate this emergency access easement that would be limited to only fire and rescue and safety personnel that would occasionally visit the facility. There'd be no other access as a result of the gate that will be installed there. And so this is kind of the last piece to fall into place for my wife and I before we break ground. You may have noticed we've demolished the area, but have been holding off on just making sure we understood everything with regard to this activity and finalize the site accordingly. The property could ultimately accommodate 2 20-room buildings, and so that is our ultimate vision, but we'll only build one. We're franchising with an organization that has about 120-plus homes in their network and over 25 years of experience. So I'm excited to have a lesson plan, if you would, for starting up the business that reflects both how to operate it successfully in general, as well as do it within Texas. We're excited about this business opportunity. We also see it as a service and a ministry within the community as well, just as the senior population increases over the next 30 years. Also read recently about the Seniors and Seniors program at LISD, and so would certainly like to explore anything that might be a win-win scenario there as we move forward. So I appreciate working with Mr. Martin over the last couple of months as we've dialogued about this. I understand the points that are important to the board. If there is an opportunity to dialogue any on the stipulation that if you sell the property, the easement goes away, I understand your position there, and I'm prepared to move forward and abide by the terms that you have proposed. But if there was a chance to discuss it, I'd appreciate it, and I'll hang around for that part of the agenda. And if you have any questions for me later, thank you.
Thank you. And last, we have Kimberly Gamble.
Hi, and thank you. We greatly appreciate you celebrating all the young athletes that were here tonight, and that is the reason I am here as well. We are so proud of the accomplishments that our school, Hebron, has made in all the various programs, but since wrestling was here tonight, we'd like to address that. Coach David Rosansky has done a wonderful job coaching, teaching, serving, mentoring, being a sparring partner, and oftentimes a father to the students and the 100 or so young men that have come through our program. And in the past 2 years, our team has sent several young men to the state tournament. In the past 2 years, we've finished in the top 10 in the state, where over 100 schools have participated. Last year, it was 7th place. This year, it was 10th place. Last year, we had a first place champion. This year, we had a first place champion, as well as several other placers and finalists in this state tournament. Furthermore, our program has increased by over 20%, and Coach has added new programs to promote more involvement in the wrestling program in the Hebron East Zone block. This accomplishment and growth should be celebrated, and it should especially lead to consideration to new facilities for our team, because the facilities that we have at our disposal are outdated and they are too small for the safety of our boys. We have about 60 boys in our program now, and 40 of them participate in one class period for our JV wrestling program. And when you hear 40 boys in one classroom, it doesn't sound like much, but when you see them, it is too many boys for one room to be safe, and we've had several injuries. I have pictures that we can show you at a later date if you need to actually see, because a 38 by 38 mat does not support 40 boys to wrestle at one time. In fact, suggested guidelines are 10 boys at a time instead of 40. So this limits our boys' ability to improve, and it is definitely a safety concern for the parents of a school, especially speaking from a mother whose boy's back was fractured during practice the first week of school. So this situation is both inequitable and an injury waiting to happen. On the heels of this fantastic success of our program, we ask that the board and the school administration consider providing additional space to support the space for 2 mats as quickly as possible. And we would also like to point out that Hebron is the only school in the LISD program of high schools that only has enough space to lay down 1 mat. Every other school except for Marcus has 2 mats laid down for their boys to practice, and Marcus has 1 1/3. So with our growing program and over 40 in one class period, we are the only school with 1 mat. That is not enough space for safety. And I know you have done a facilities assessment, but I question whether this assessment was done while our boys were training, because looking at a room while it is empty and looking at a room while there are 40 boys in there practicing are 2 very different views. And so we would respectfully ask.
Thank you.
That are looking.
Thank you. All right, next we're going to move into our information items, and these are items that are coming to the board either for the first time or just as updates. And so anyway, we'll get started with that. The first one is our strategic design update. Dr. Brockman, do you want to introduce that?
Yes, with no further ado, I would like to invite the principal, a couple of teachers, and some beautiful children from Stewart's Creek Elementary to talk about their multi-age program.
President Sheffield, members of the board, Dr. Rogers, we have come tonight just to share some information about our multi-age classrooms at Stewart's Creek Elementary. We began studying and preparing for this collaborative journey a couple of years ago with about 16 staff members and several parents. We were seeing students soar during the spring who we believed possessed all of the potential for exceptional leadership in the fall. Parents helped to develop the criteria for participation in this classroom with an option for students to opt out in December and at spring break. We have not had any students opt out of these 2 classes this year. In fact, we have more students who have asked to be entered into the classes for next year than we have space for. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce to you 2 of the exceptional teachers who lead this and their students, Ms. Estes, Miss Woods, along with Connor, Kendall, and Emma.
And we do have
PowerPoint, but you can look at it at your leisure at some point. So our multi-age, a typical multi-age program works under a deficit with high kinder, low first. Our program does not work that way. We are an all-inclusive environment that includes special ed, ESL, as well as students of all levels.
Okay, the first decision we had to make was how to lay out our curriculum in order to ensure that all standards would be taught within 1 year. We started with both grade level TEKS to see how we could differentiate for all of our students. We cut them all out and matched the foundational kindergarten TEKS with the first grade TEKS. We mapped them out by 9 weeks based on how the standards fit best and aligned with both grade level standards-based report cards. Pre-assessment and formative assessments have driven our instruction in our flexible groupings. These flexible groups are tailored to meet the learning needs of each individual student.
As our year has progressed, we are seeing astounding data as a result of the environment that multi-age creates. It cultivates this environment of learning, sharing, and growing. By middle of year, a large majority of both grade levels were on or above grade level in both reading and math. By end of year, it is our expectation that close to all of our students will be on or above grade level. And if you'd like to see specifics, it's on our PowerPoint as well. And we would love for you to look at that. Next steps. Eventually, that will be a question that one or all of you will ask. Where we are headed is what's exciting for us. Next year, Ms. Estes talked about how we mapped. Next year, we will be adding in the second grade standards to our curriculum mapping, which means we will start all over, cut again, start reassessing and putting it all back together, because we have first grade students, our kinders that are coming to first, who will be ready for some of those second grade TEKS just because of the environment that they are in, and they are pushing us to continue learning and learning. Also, our kinders, as a part of our program, they will stay with us another year. And then our current first graders will then go into our new multi-age 2, second, third.
Parent support is vital to the success of our multi-age program. I'd like to introduce Jennifer Shaw so she can share with you her experience.
Good evening. My daughter started kindergarten last school year. I was hesitant to enroll her because she not only is very young, her birthday's not until August, but she also had never been in a preschool program. She had always been a social child, so I decided to go ahead and have her start. She started the year in a traditional kindergarten. As the year progressed, her class began to do more and more activities with the first grade class. They were slowly transitioning the children to a multi-age approach. Honestly, I was very unsure about this new concept. I, like many parents, had a bunch of questions. I was beginning to see some growth in her. She appeared to be a bit more confident in academics. She definitely came home talking much more about what they were doing in school. So we decided to go ahead and give this multi-age thing a shot. So when first grade rolled around, she started the year off in Miss Wood's class. Academically, she seemed to struggle a bit. I mentioned it to Miss Woods pretty much from the very beginning of the year, and she reassured me that this multi-age approach would help her close the gaps. As the year continued, I can tell you that this is very true. The ability for the teachers to differentiate the instruction in a manner that the multi-age program allows has been a tremendous help to bridging those gaps. If she's struggling on a particular math concept, they're able to move her around to rebuild the basics. As soon as she had mastered the fundamentals, then they were able to move to another group on the same skill at different levels. This collaboration between the students and the teachers is phenomenal. My daughter is turning into an amazing leader. It has gained self-control that I never imagined possible. So I am no longer a skeptic of this program. I am 100% behind them, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds for these precious children. Sorry.
Okay, so technology is a huge part of our curriculum. So some of our students would like to tell you what multi-age is to them.
Hi, my name is Kendall. I am a kindergartner in multi. I want to tell you about multi-age, so I made a 30 hands video. I hope you like it.
I'm sorry? Okay, thank you. Well, it is embedded, so if you want to go back at some point, we would love to send it to you because she did a fantastic job all by herself. So we would love for you to hear it. Yeah.
This presentation is about why multi-age is awesome. By Emma and Connor. Our parents think it's kind of weird because it's new, but we love it. We collaborate with our friends every day. It's always exciting when we do cool projects using technology. We never misbehave because we're all on the same team. We are never bored because we are always learning something new or interesting. The end. Now do you have any questions for us?
So, does anyone have any questions? Yes, Ms. Latham?
What was the problem or the purpose of creating this multi-age classroom?
Well, Ms. Latham, we had several things that were of concern to us, and as I mentioned, we started to see students that were taking off, but we thought there must be a way that we can meet those needs and to help them become leaders at the very beginning of the year versus seeing them start to develop that leadership kind of at the second half of the year, and then they move on to the next class. So that kind of prompted us to start researching methods that we could use. And also on our campus at the time, often our ratio of boys was much higher than girls. We had a ratio of almost 4-to-1 in many classrooms of boys to girls. So we certainly wanted to see something that would also help our boys to be as successful as they possibly could be. And as you've seen tonight, it's worked.
That's very interesting, and it's very encouraging to me as someone who's a firm believer in changing how we approach education. So I'm excited to watch the progress on this. And as a mother of all boys, I understand.
Do you know, or maybe someone else, do we have other campuses that are interested in looking at that?
We have one other campus that's been exploring the idea for a couple of years, and last year they decided they weren't quite ready to take the leap that Stewart's Creek did, but certainly we expect that this is sort of the start, the genesis of some others looking at it.
And it's an opt-in program? Is that what you said?
Yes, they have the opt-in. They can also opt out. And currently we've gotten feedback from parents as to whether or not they want to continue with the program. And of the parents in these two classes, all of them have said yes. We have one parent not check yes or no, and that's because the student is moving to Mesquite.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Great job.
I just sent you the presentation link, so you have that. I would encourage you to look at the data, the progress of the students. It is impressive. Impressive.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have our board legislative agenda update, and I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Hassett.
Okay. I will try to make this quick and painless, but there has been a lot going on with the legislature. You can't even read bills fast enough for them. A few of the bills that we have been tracking, one is Senate Bill 149, the graduation committee bill. Pardon my voice, everybody. I have a cold, so I sound horrible.
He moves away.
This bill had a little bit of movement just today. I think it's probably going to be scheduled for a vote in the House tomorrow or this week sometime, but it hasn't. And we need this bill quickly in order to help the seniors for now. One little stat that I saw, there are 17 bills that have already been signed by the governor. And they had said that they were going to hurry this one through, and it still hasn't been through. One of those bills, most of those bills were congratulatory bills. One bill was a 2,276-page bill that affected the Family Code, Government Code, Health and Safety Code, Human Resource Code, and Operations Code. But they still haven't passed this bill. Just saying. Okay. Senate Bill 4 and Senate Bill 642 and Senate Bill 276, the voucher bills. They will be, a couple of those will be talked about tomorrow. We are very much opposed to the voucher bills. And some of them are not necessarily vouchers, but they're tax credits. And the tax credits, a lot of people say it's not a voucher, but it's still taking money away from the franchise tax that could be paid to the state. So it's still taking public money away and giving it to private institutions. Senate Bill 14 passed out of Education Committee, which is the parent trigger bill, which we are also very much opposed, mainly because the parent trigger bill will take schools out of the school district's jurisdiction and give it to the state. And some of those can be based on silly recommendations on the state. It doesn't have to be just overall performance on the STAR. It could be if the school didn't meet a certain level, and we do not like the parent trigger bill. House Bill 4, which is the pre-K bill, has been passed out of the House. That's a good bill to help us be able to expand the pre-K program for half day, and it's been passed out of the House. On to the Senate Ed. One of the Senate Bill 893, which was the change for the teachers and the minimum state salary. I think this bill is a good overall bill. It removes the teachers, the schedule for the teachers, but it gives us as a district more leeway to enable the teachers to have a better schedule. And part of the language in the bill I didn't like at first. It has the commissioner has to do a development program, but the very last part of the wording actually states that as a district, we can override the commissioner's wording for the performance appraisals. And part of the wording in that bill is really good because the federal DOE has dictated that we have to rate our teachers based on testing, and this bill has better wording than current federal wording. So it's not a great bill, but it helps the wording for the districts. Let's see. Senate Bill. There was a great bill, House Bill 1759, by Chairman Aycock, is for funding formulas. And we're very excited that he put it forth because no one else has given this bill any weight. He is trying to fix the funding formula before they're forced to with the lawsuit that has been proposed. It has 13 different things that he's changing in the funding formula. A lot of it is due to the basic allotment instead of the current way that they actually fund districts. He's throwing most of it back into the basic allotment in order to disperse it more evenly, which is good. We will get money back, higher money from the state if this passes. But the problem with this bill is if Senate Bill 1, the House and the Senate appropriation bills, which the Senate doesn't give us as much money as the House, if they don't pass the funding formulas at the state, then even if the House and the Senate pass our funding formula bill by ACOC, the governor will veto it because he can't fund our new system on the ACOC's bill if he doesn't have the money on the appropriations bill. So that's going to be a very fun political fight that's coming up. Okay, there's committee hearings tomorrow. Texas Opportunity District is coming up tomorrow. Not excited about that, but ACOG's bill is coming up also for the 1749, the 59 with the finance. I'm looking forward to hearing testimony on that. We're excited. Community schools by Rodriguez is another one that is a slippery slope. It's a lot like the other type of vouchers. That's basically it. But we also have two very verbose, I will try to read them quickly, resolutions that we have on high-stakes testing and vouchers. One thing I have also asked our administration that next time we can consider resolutions in the future. We don't have to have the legalese. I'm not a fan of the legalese.
She doesn't like whereas.
I don't like whereas. It's just pompous and it's, ugh. And we can do it differently. We can just light it at the top and say these are all the things we want, and so it would read better and less. So we have to do it this way this time, but if we can consider it next time with less legalese, more common language, I think everybody would appreciate that. Okay, let's go fast. This is the resolution concerning high-stakes testing, standardized testing of Texas public schools, Texas public students. Whereas an over-reliance on standardized high-stakes testing as an ultimate assessment in the state and federal accountability system is strangling our public schools and undermining professional educators. And whereas students enrolled in the public school systems across the country must adhere to the federally mandated standardized testing requirements under elementary and secondary education, ESEA, and No Child Left Behind, and CLB legislation. And whereas ESEA and NCLB require students enrolled in public school systems to be assessed in only reading, math, and science. And whereas federally mandated tests are not legally required to be high stakes, and whereas the state of Texas has instituted additional non-federally mandated high stakes assessments in writing and social studies, and whereas neither college nor career readiness programs associate a value with the state assessments, whereas Education Code Section 7.12C4 gives the power and duties to the State Board of Education to establish graduation requirements, whereas local school boards do not currently have the authority to override state requirements for Texas State Assessment and Academic Readiness, or STAR, or end-of-course assessments. And resolved that the Lewisville Independent School District respectfully implores our legislature representatives to eliminate all stake assessments unaffirmed to federal mandates, including the number and high-stakes nature of its assessment, and be it resolved that the state assessments are required to be federally mandated shall only in grade level TEA, Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, and be it resolved that federally mandated state assessments and mandatory tutoring associated with these state assessments be funded entirely by the state.
Whew. That was a mouthful, but thank you, Ms. Hassett. And we actually have the two resolutions. The other one of our resolutions will be on vouchers, and we won't be necessarily taking action on these. However, these are in line with our priorities, and we will be signing these individually and forwarding them to the state. So go ahead and read our voucher one.
Yes. Here. Here. I'll help my throat. Thank you.
Lewisville Independent School District resolution of opposition to vouchers, taxpayer savings, grants, tax credits, and other mechanisms that reduce public education funding. Whereas Article 7, Section 1 of the Texas Constitution requires that the Texas legislature establish and make suitable provision for the support and maintenance of an efficient system of public free schools, and whereas during the 82nd regular session, the Texas legislature reduced public education funding by $5.4 billion, and said reduction has yet to be fully restored. And whereas public school districts are subject to stringent accountability standards and transparency requirements, and whereas vouchers, taxpayers, savings grants, and tax credits circumvent public accountability and transparency requirements and do not provide all parents and children with school choice. And whereas school choice already exists within the Texas public school system through transfers, magnet schools, academy programs, and charter schools. And whereas private schools have choices not available to public schools when choosing which students to admit. And whereas vouchers, taxpayer savings grants, and tax credits have not been proven effective in improving student achievement and closing the achievement gap. And whereas the cost of a voucher is not likely to equal the cost of tuition for most private schools, and may therefore result in a choice only for those who can afford to pay the differential and provide their own transportation. And whereas many private schools have a religious affiliation and include religion in the curricula, thereby using public funding to promote religious messages. And whereas diverting public money away from the public schools is an inefficient use of scarce resources. And whereas vouchers, taxpayer savings grants, and tax credits will not guarantee a competitive, educated workforce to meet the demands of employers in Texas. Now it is hereby resolved that the trustees of the Lewisville Independent School District call on the Texas legislature to reject all attempts to divert public dollars away from public schools in the form of vouchers, taxpayer savings grants, tax credits, and other mechanisms that have the effect of reducing funding to public schools.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
I would urge everybody, there are going to be lots of different groups that will be having social media posts on current legislation that is now starting to hit the tracks. This is going to be the time where it's very important to start calling or emailing. If we tie up the phone lines, it's better. They can ignore an email much easier. So it really doesn't take much time at all to find out who your representatives are. All you have to say is, please ask this senator or House representative to vote against X bill, whatever the bill is, and your name and number. It literally takes 2 minutes or less, and it's very, very important to do so.
Thank you. Are there any comments related to that? Yes, Mr.
I have one question, Ms. Hassett. Could you clarify HB 4 on the pre-K? I know that's a kind of a pet project for the governor. Is that bill going to include full-day pre-K?
No, at this point, it's just half day. It's only for districts that opt into the program.
Okay.
The districts can also ask for outside providers to help if they don't have the necessary locations to do so.
Thank you.
Are we going to be sent copies of those resolutions so that I can read them and understand them?
Yes. The one thing I will say that was added to the pre-K bill that I like is that they lay out that there will be no assessment, no state assessment for pre-K, which I think is positive. So, okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Hassett. Ms. Vaughn, your Leadership TASB update.
I wanted to give you a quick update. I just returned from El Paso for our Leadership TASB training, and I was proud to do my presentation of hometown news. Each of the trustees takes turns, and I signed up for the El Paso time, and we have 7 minutes, and I thank the communication staff for helping me fine-tune enough. There's so much to brag about that it was hard to get it down to 7 minutes. But I did bring them some of our marketing pieces and provided them to all of them, and our graduate profile skills and our strategic design, and they were very pleased. We have a variety of trustees there, from 160 kids in their school district to Dallas, which has 130,000, I believe. So a lot of them don't have ability to make these resources, so they were happy to see those. We have some research groups. Just wanted you to know, and we're going to be presenting our results at our last meeting in June. One's on transforming learning environments, competitive forces, undocumented children, inequities, achievement gap, and then my group is changing demographics. So we worked on those and kind of did a run through. We toured Ysleta ISD, YSLETA. Very impressive. We saw their international school, K through 8, and these students learn English and Spanish, fluent in English and Spanish, and then a third language they're allowed to take, which is about 10% of their schedule. And they have an opportunity to travel to that country, see Germany, Japan, Chinese. What is the other one? There were 4. Sorry, I'm not thinking about that right now. Very impressive. Those kids were very impressive. So we also went to their health profession magnet school and talked to the students there. And they had tables lined up with big science boards for us. And they were very excited that we were visiting them. And I was happy to show them a picture of my recent foot surgery incision. To a little on-the-spot, teachable moment.
Great picture.
Yeah.
Great picture.
And then they also have a great pre-K building that we got to tour. And we had 2 speakers come in, Dr. Derek Greenfield. He's a diversity inclusion consultant. And I thought he did have a great quote. I tweeted it out, but I wanted to read it to you guys, so I don't want to get it wrong here. Diversity is counting heads. Inclusion is making every head count. So we had 3 hours with him, and it was very good presentation for us, and it was very interactive. And then we also had Kelly McDonald come. She's a demographer and a diversity marketing expert and author. So that helped my particular research group since it's changing demographics. And we do graduate in June. Hopefully I'll graduate in June in Fort Worth and SLI. So that's, if you have need more info on that stuff, you can let me know.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. All right, next we have our Discipline Task Force update. Dr. Rogers?
Yes, ma'am. If you remember, Board, last June we had brought before you, there was some discipline concerns, and so we created a Discipline Task Force. Consists of 71 members across the community and across LISD, and so Mr. Bonner is going to give a brief information-only update on that.
Good evening, board members. Appreciate the opportunity to visit with you about the Discipline Task Force. As Dr. Rogers mentioned, there are 71 members on that task force, 14 students, 21 parents and community members, 12 teachers, 18 campus administrators, and then 6 district staff members. Great effort was made to make sure that body reflected the ethnic diversity found in our district, so that's a good thing. The focus of the task force has been 6 meetings, and really it's to run the gamut on the disciplinary information that we have in the system, and at the end of the process come up with a field of recommendations to bring back to Dr. Rogers and the board. Just a brief rundown on the meetings that have been held thus far. In October, the group met for the first time, did introductions, group norms, and established the purpose and goals of the meeting. In November, the group looked at different campus disciplinary procedures and ran through some scenarios that might take place at an elementary school, a middle school, or a high school. Convened in January to review the district disciplinary matrix and work through some scenarios that campus administrators provided and proposed to the district. That was a fun endeavor because everybody had the same scenarios and came up with, I would say, a little bit different outcomes. In March, which was last month, we reviewed LISD discipline data for the last 2 years. That was really sliced and diced about every way you could do it. District, zone, grade level, the action frequency based on ethnicity and socioeconomic status. And I do want to recognize Kathy Bray for her great work there. She pulled the data from the Skyward system and really made it evident the trends that were going on in the district. So she did a great job there. We have a meeting scheduled in April and another one scheduled in May. In April, we'll look at follow-up to the district discipline data with some recommendations and some additional information that we're reviewing on different disciplinary programs that we could look at. And then finally in May, we will look at making recommendations back for either some alternative approaches, looking further at the district discipline matrix. Do we need to make any fine-tuning or changes there? So that's a little snapshot on where we are. Be happy to entertain any questions. Or none at all.
Ms. Cox?
Just a quick question, Mr. Bonner. Is this a task force that's going to be ongoing and meeting every year? And is the same committee members going to keep serving on that, or will new selection be made every year?
I think that probably remains to be seen. We have not talked that far. The immediate focus is to get a recommendation back to the group. I would just project that once recommendations are made, it probably would not be a bad idea to be ongoing to assess those moving forward, but we have not discussed that further.
Ms. Cox, when we created the task force, really we didn't believe we could probably finish the work in 1 year. Certainly we've got to continue to look at the disproportionate discipline data and some other items. So we'd like to the task force bring some recommendations to the board before the end of the year, but we see that it will continue, and certainly we'd like for the same members to continue if they'd like.
Any other questions for Mr. Bonner? No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next, we will move into our discussion items. Many of these were presented, actually, I think all of them were presented last month. First, we have our TASB Update 101. Dr. Brockman went through all of that last month. Is there anything new that you need to let us know about, Dr. Brockman?
The only new item really is not a new policy in the list. It's regarding DGBA local on employee complaints and grievances. We're looking at language adopted by some other districts that really strengthens the intent to have an informal process with a definite end before a start to an official process. That's always our intent, but we have been shopping around, if you will, for language that really puts that in the policy. That's really the only new thing.
Okay. Thank you. And I know that one in particular was brought into question, and I think the idea is that we are not out to disenfranchise anybody, but that there's obviously goodwill, but we have to create the right language for it. So thank you for working on that. Does anybody else have a question related to that item?
Well, Ms. Sheffield, I'd be glad
for
Dr. Brockman to read through the whole thing again.
No, not going to happen.
Tracy Miller is wrong.
I've been biting my tongue all night.
I have a feeling we'll hear from you before the night's over.
I wanted to make sure that administration is not recommending the deletion of policy EIAB. Did I read that correctly?
EIAB local.
Yeah.
The TASB recommendation is to delete that policy because those guidelines are represented in student handbooks.
Correct, but that was not in the administration's recommendation down below. That's why I'm asking, are you recommending we do delete it or we do not?
The administrative recommendations are for changes that are not represented in the policies as listed. It would be up to the board to make a decision as to whether or not to delete EIAB local.
Okay.
To clarify, the administrative considerations have to do with the language change to DGBA local. These are a mouthful, as you can tell.
Right.
And to align the timelines in FNG local and GF local with that of DGBA local. Those things are not currently represented in the policy comparisons that you got. Those would be additional changes.
Right. Making those consistent, essentially on the time frames, making those consistent.
Absolutely.
Right. Ms. Latham, did you have, do you have thoughts on the E8, whatever it is? The grades?
I liked EIBA,
EIO.
I actually liked that being in the district policy as well as the student handbook because it just reinforces it that it is a district-wide policy where we in the past, thus the reason Mr. Bonner's on this disciplinary committee, come across where our campuses over time can drift away and start implementing their own actions and veer away. I know Kevin was so happy to work on a pet project I started on making sure that all of our student handbooks are the same across the district because they were vastly, drastically different. So I would just like to recommend that we leave that policy alone.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any other comments, questions regarding any of the updates? Okay. All right, thank you. All right, next we're moving on to our monthly financials, including quarterly investment reports. Dr. Burnett?
Thank you. Ms. Sheffield, you have the financial reports. This represents through the end of February, which represents 6 months of our fiscal year. So we would expect that we would be about half done with our expenditures. If you note, the actual expenditures in the general operating budget are about 47% of the total expenditures. So that differential is trending in the same direction as we had told you about earlier about what we project to be at the end of the fiscal year. We'd also call your attention that we opened bids this last week for a new depository bid that will be a new depository bank that will be bringing you those bids in May. If you have any questions, we'll try to answer them.
Other questions for Dr. Burnett? Are you, yes?
I do.
Okay, Mr. Miller. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just have a quick question about what's alluded to the variance in the local revenue.
Oh, all right. You're in which one? Which line?
The general fund.
Okay, in the local revenue, that represents our tax collections, and we're of all those revenues in the local revenue, we're almost 99% completed collection, and we expect to get some more. So we actually expect to exceed our revenue collections in that item.
So you expect to meet the budget?
We expect to exceed it.
Okay.
Mr. Miller.
I should have asked you this when I spoke to you earlier today, and this is on page 1 of 35, and I only have questions on 33 pages. So, the capital projects under the income or total revenue, I assume that that's an infusion of bond money of the $104,000.
I'm sorry, if you're under the 2008 bond construction and projects.
I'm actually under the page 1 of the attached document, so it's summary of financial reports year to date as of February 28, 2015. It's got tax collections of $397 million, receipts from the state of $83 million.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
So 2 questions on that. One is the capital projects showing as revenue. I assume that's bond sales?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the other revenue, what is the other revenue of $75 million?
The other revenue is a pass-through that we did in the fall to make the sale of the bonds work.
Okay, got it. So then thinking about the number today we discussed, a $35 million run rate, so extrapolating that out over 6 months, saying that's $210 million, looking at where we were at, we've got a total spend of 203, so we've got another 210, that's 413. Does that come out to about kind of round numbers where we'd be at the end of the budget?
That's close.
Okay.
Yeah. We're looking at around we're right now our expenditures are lagging by about 3%, which would be in that range.
Okay.
We'll usually have a spike in our expenditures during the summer as we get things ready for the fall.
Okay. Do you want to go through the other 31 or wait?
If you're ready.
All right. Are there any other questions for Dr. Burnett? All right. Moving on to action. The first one we have is, well, actually, could I have a motion for our instructional materials? You want to wait? Okay, let's yeah, why don't we do that? Well, let's have, we had quite a bit of discussion last month regarding our instructional materials, and we heard from our teacher representatives. Are there any additional comments or questions, or how would you like to proceed?
Ms. Sheffield, I think I can make a motion. It's not necessarily in alignment with what was recommended to us, but I think I speak in agreement for the entire board that we all have an issue with standardized testing. I have an issue with state mandated test that's unfunded, that has a 30% failure rate in it, that teaches things that are not agreed upon in most Texans' core values. And while we as a school board cannot excuse ourselves from that test without severe penalty, we can, I think we're the 19th largest state or school district in the state of Texas, I think we can start making an impact by curtailing our funding of the one company that holds monopoly over that test, and that would be Pearson Publishing. So I would, I do have a recommendation, or
could we just can we discuss that right now? Because I think that is, I agree. I think that most are in agreement that Pearson is just a thorn in our side, really in name only. That when we see Pearson, it just gives a bad taste in our mouth. It creates problems for the district. It creates problems for public education overall. So I do agree. I think we're all in the same thing. The piece that I'm struggling with a little bit is that I also don't want, so for a district like ours, because the materials that we use are really secondary in nature, as opposed to we write our curriculum, those become resources as opposed to our curriculum. I'm not an instructional specialist, and I don't want to hamstring our teachers with giving them substandard resources either. So that to me is where it puts us in a little bit of a bind. And because some of the information that was shared with us, that Ms. Rapp shared, Pearson really has a monopoly on so much of this because they've bought up the smaller publishing companies. So Prentice Hall, which I think she said is really kind of the standout with mathematics, was bought by Pearson. So I guess where I am is in a little bit of a struggle because I don't want to. I do think we need to be on the district side of the house. We need to be thinking about the kind of the political impact of using a company that no one likes and continuing to funnel resources into said company. But I also don't want to leave our teachers with substandard resources or really second guess their. I don't know better. I'm not. I go back to I'm not the instructional expert. So that's kind of me. Mr. Miller?
Everybody gets settled in. So I'm going to agree with much of what's said. I'm going to add to a little bit. So, from a commercial perspective, it's not Pearson's fault that they're the primary assessment company. It's the College Board, it's the states, it's the districts that agree to that. That said, for many years, Texas and California were able to drive curriculum across the country, and we benefited from that. And now we're in an unfortunate position where we're the afterthought. I think this has come down to, it's less of an issue for me about the monopoly that Pearson holds and more of an issue for me around not even just support of the Common Core standards, but the pedagogy and the instructional process that are being imposed on us with those materials. I would say that we need help here, too. Parents can say, I'm not going to have my kid take an AP test, because every AP test and class that you have them take, you perpetuate the Pearson issue, even more so than we do. If you have your kids take the SAT, which will be aligned with Common Core in 2016, as David Coleman, the president of College Board, has said, and he's the architect of College or Common Core, he has said my job is to line up with Common Core. That's the reality of the world we're in. There are only so many things we can do. So as we consider this, I do appreciate that one option is to remand this back to the teachers. I think if we were to consider that option, we ought to just say, an option is not to present Pearson to us. Take it off the table for the teachers, and then if Pearson is the only option, we consider that. But if there are other options, we would prefer that. That's going to take some work towards the end of the year, where we've got field trips and all kinds of things scheduled, and it's going to take a lot of activity. There are some other things I'd just like to put on the table for consideration within that. One is, and I did spend a good amount of time with Dr. Riddell and Ms. Rapp, Ms. Deering, and Karen Seeley. And we had a great conversation about this. And so whereas I was considering remanding it back, I do think it, without having provided that direction from the board with the political element, it may be unfair to push that back to them. Now, we really only talked about math, which is one of probably the most toxic topic within the district. There are some options here to consider. So, let's just say, and this is not going to be the right number, but that we're going to spend $1 million or so, $3 million in math across all subjects, across all math subjects, so from K through 12 and algebra and some of the other topics. We could do a one-year contract. We wouldn't get as big of a discount, but we could do a one-year contract and see how it goes. I don't think we need to lock ourselves into an 8-year position at this juncture. And so we'd need to work on the mechanics of that. I think, again, we want to make sure that we keep some fidelity and trust around the teachers and the process they went to. The other thing is that we have, from a procurement perspective, language within the purchase of instructional materials where Mr. Martin and his team would write within that suppliers shall be responsible to assure to customer here at LISD that no references to Common Core state standards will exist within these materials. In the event that they do, I would consider that a breach within the contract, and there's be some remedy there. And then there would be some direction from the district to teachers. So, if a teacher goes out and buys a piece of material, it may make sense for them to use it if it's got Common Core on it. But what we're trying to do here is create this check and balance where the district doesn't get surprised because we have elected officials in the community and others that say, hey, my kid took home a worksheet that says Common Core, and we have to spend 10 minutes explaining why it doesn't exist in the district. And in the same token, we have teachers who, may have just inadvertently brought something in. So in order to have that check and balance, I think we either A, say that any or all materials that have Common Core state references have to be approved by the Board of Trustees, which is not optimal from my perspective, or there's a procurement language that says, if those materials come in, like Pearson will say that their materials don't reference Common Core. We know Pearson materials have gone home that said Common Core. So something that manages that. There'd be remedies within the contract with procurement. However, for the employee, it's direction. We don't want to penalize a teacher that had every good intent of bringing a material in to help them. And there is confusion, by the way. There are standards within CCSS and TEKS that are the same. It's important, I think, we all remember that the materials we've selected meet 100% of the TEKS. And then we have the curriculum development there to kind of, bridge any gaps. So those are the things that I'd like to put on the table that don't remand it back, but that put some safeguards in place so we can keep moving forward, and it forces us in a year to see where we're at, see how that went with Pearson.
What do the rest of you think? Ms. Cox.
I agree with what Mr. Miller and Ms. Latham are saying, but I also, whether it's Pearson or whatever vendor, I think the district, I don't know what the contracts read or anything, but there needs to be some accountability to these vendors as well, so we don't have situations like we had with math last time where we're expecting our teachers to come up with new curriculum and studies and information during a problem that's a Pearson problem, and then they're coming in trying to help us, and then we've lost 6 weeks of instructional time. There has to be some accountability to these vendors that when you sell us a bill of goods and you don't meet your requirements in your contracts, you're either giving us our money back or, giving something back to the district. There has to be some accountability to all of our vendors.
Thank you. Anyone else? Vaughn?
Is that doable? And what kind of financial impact by doing the 1 year versus the 8? Just average, I don't know. This is the first I've heard about that, so curious.
Hello, everyone. Yes, it is doable. Basically, that's one of the benefits of the instructional materials allotment system as compared to how it used to be, that there are pricing options anywhere from 1 to 8 years. The publishers tend to be pretty flexible in terms of working with districts on different pricing options. We agree that the publishers absolutely should be held accountable for the state adopted materials. Those proposals are put in with the state. So we along with our purchasing friends, for instance, with what happened last time, spent time on the phone with TEA and navigating those waters and in terms of getting the free materials that we got in order to hold them accountable. But yes, there are different ways to pursue different pricing options.
What's the difference, though, in I mean, we will not save as much in doing a 1-year contract versus an 8. So what's the cost hit to the district on that?
Basically, when I was just looking at the cost again just a few minutes ago, it's about a $20 difference with the pricing packages that they have published. If you go a 1-year comprehensive package, for instance, versus a 8-year. So $40 to $60 or $60-something to $80-something a student. So it's a, you know.
So at 2/3. So if the
about
cost was
$20
80,
difference.
So you have to buy 8 years to get the discount, and if not, you're going to pay 25% more.
Possibly. I think that what we could do is pursue this conversation with the publisher and see what they can work out with us. I don't think that we have to stop with what's just printed on that paper. So we could definitely do research on that for you and get back with you about what the publisher is willing to
I know
do.
Ms. Latham has a question, but I just want to make this point. There's a cost either way.
Mm-hmm.
If we sign up with Pearson for 8 years, we're boxed in. I'd rather spend another $100,000 or $200,000 now to have the flexibility to do what we want to do as a district than be forced into this 8-year model. We can't get new textbooks because we purchased them already, and you know, we're going to have to spend a little more money to have flexibility today.
The question that I have for you, Lori, is what does it do to your timeline if we recommend this back to you with some guide or some direction from us tonight? What does that do to your timeline?
I appreciate that question. The largest concern I have, sincerely, is booking professional development support for the teachers. I went around over the weekend and looked at different board agendas from different districts to see who'd already made some decisions. And that's what you're competing for in this area is scheduling professional learning, and we're obviously not going to do that until we have approval from all of you about what would be chosen. So that is my largest concern. Coming back in May, we'll be one of the last to get in with the publishers at that point. I think we're a large district. I think they would do everything possible to meet our needs. I'm confident of that. But that's probably my biggest concern about the timeline.
One more question that I had for you is, if we recommend this back to you for some additional work, is it possible for you to show us in a chart somehow, I don't care what it looks like, when we have a publisher that didn't meet 100% of the TEKS, is it possible for us to know what percentage they did meet? Is it possible that if they met 98% of them, can our curriculum department fill that 2% gap so that we can go with that publisher instead of Pearson? Or can we use our technology that we have in our district to supplement those textbooks to fill that 2% gap? I guess I'm asking, can we think outside the box, do something different?
Yes, absolutely. The reason that we look at only 100% from the state adoption list is because I know that Obviously, you all are in the position each year of certifying that we have materials out there that meet 100% of the TEKS. The state requirement is really low for a material to only meet 50% of the TEKS, but yes, we can absolutely provide an alignment report with any materials that we're looking at, even those that are not on the state adopted list. That's one of the reasons we bought the subscription to the learning list. So as we were even brainstorming earlier about, we can use that service to ask them to review any materials as well. For instance, Social Studies Alive is a very popular material. The teachers love it. They did not go through the state adopted process. The Learning List has reviewed those materials and they have an alignment report with the state. And so they tell you, meets 98%, meets 97%. So absolutely we can get those reports and do that. Did I answer the question fully? Okay.
You provided us, though, some additional background information regarding the, because we asked, is there a viable option that's perhaps number 2, but that's, would it be a strong option? It meets all those other requirements. It just didn't make the cut. But the information you provided back kind of showed that was not the case overall, that there were some that there might have been some committee support for a different publisher, but that there were other issues with that publisher. So, again, I think in going back, and originally I kind of liked the idea of, I think just wanting to hear the conversation to see, to make sure that, is there something, if we know that we don't want to use this particular publisher for a variety of reasons, can we start having those conversations and looking at materials in light of, okay, you know what, this one, even like Ms. Latham said, it might meet not the full 100% alignment, but it's so close, and it would be But I guess what I saw from what you gave us was that overall there wasn't necessarily a great second choice in many of these.
Yeah, I think that the committees would have to think outside the box in terms of if there's not something on the state adopted list. With any of the big 3 publishers, whether it be Pearson, Houghton Mifflin, or McGraw-Hill, there's pros and cons with every one of them. And so the teacher committees really wrestle with those decisions. And, I think we would have to be looking at possibly, is it okay to look at material that's not even on the state adopted list? As in terms of thinking outside the box, would we be okay with doing that?
I say yes. Oh.
Sorry.
How much would it cost the district in additional man hours in order to certify that list? I mean, I think then we're going to incur additional costs if we have to ensure, especially some of these in K-5 through 12, K through 5, there are lots of different levels within elementary that if you have to certify all of the TEKS within these publishers, would that not take a lot and cost a lot of man hours?
To the learning list, yes. Well, yeah, we subscribe to that service in order to get us some help with alignment, the level of detail about alignment. We absolutely could do that. We have experts in our district and great teachers that we work with to write curriculum, obviously, but it would take some manpower, and so we feel like the learning list is a helpful service to do that.
Ms. Duke, did you have a question?
Well, I struggle with, because I know how many man hours that they put in their research for our teachers, and we saw the passion. It lasted 2 hours, I think, their presentation. I don't remember, but we saw the passion and what. No, don't apologize. And what they went towards that, and they knew what the district's guidelines and standards are. So I struggle just stopping it for the next year. And so I agree with everybody, but is there a way we can make this go forward, but also set something for next year to start that review process? we can set the standards for this year and approve what we need to so they can get on and get ready for next year. But we can also set these standards that we're all sitting here talking about, or people are speaking and we're all nodding our heads, and we can make that happen now so they have time. Does it?
So I guess the one thing that Mr. Miller was talking about when we have our, in purchasing, that we have those stipulations, I guess the one thing I'm curious about is, they still write textbooks just for Texas, right?
The ones that are willing to go through the state adopted process.
Right. So, but
Yes.
the materials we're looking at have done that. Why is it that we have anything in our district or our state that would even have Common Core on it?
Well, a state adopted resource by itself, as we talked about last time, is not going to be the only thing that a teacher uses to meet their instruction.
Right, right.
So that's where you're going to get a variety of instructional materials. And a lot of times those materials come up because of the needs of our English language learners, the needs for enrichment with gifted and talented, special ed. The state adopted resource gives us something that addresses 100% of the TEKS. It gives us a common resource across the district to work into the curriculum, but it's by no means the only support that teachers would look to, especially as you start getting into 8 years of an adoption. I was talking with a teacher the other day, and this math adoption's so old, she said, I'm tired of looking at it. If I work one more problem from that book, I'm going to bore myself, and so, but I do think we have to be vigilant about supporting our teachers, but protecting them from getting into situations where something has alignment to the Common Core, but because it's aligned to the TEKS, that's why they're using it. And I know that our teachers know the TEKS. We've heard that from them. We've even heard that tonight with the multi-age. They know the TEKS. They work hard to study the TEKS. And we just have to continue to be vigilant, I think, in our processes to help provide them support when they're choosing additional things.
And I think that's what it comes down to because, we're teaching the TEKS in our district.
Yes.
What happens, though, is something goes home and there's this immediate backlash. And I get it. So I just think that we have to do something smarter on our side of the fence.
Yes.
To protect ourselves, to protect misinformation, because that's what comes of it. I mean, it's this whole conversation around Common Core and is it in our schools or is it not? And, when things like that happen and a worksheet goes home, which I don't like worksheets, so I don't like that those are going home anyway, but that goes home and it has Common Core on it, all it does is add fuel to the fire. So,
and we talked about even with the learning list, we initially bought that to help us with this adoption cycle, but it's an option to open up for all our campuses and our teachers. And so if any resource that they would want to pull alignment reports for, they can either look it up in the database if we train them to do that and make it available to them, and they can even request that the learning list review something they're considering. So there's probably potential for that system. We just stuck our toe in the water with it for this adoption, but I really think it probably holds promise in terms of staying vigilant about the TEKS and knowing that there's alignment to the TEKS.
Mr. Miller?
So when we entered this process, one of the things we talked about, or that you talked to us about, is looking at suppliers that were 100% compliant with the TEKS. If we remand this back and ask to look at suppliers that are less compliant and how you can fill the gaps, I think it opens up Pandora's box, because is that 95% compliance with the TEKS, 75, 80, we'd have to give some criteria around that. The second thing is, I think what we're discussing here is the problem with Pearson and its monopolistic hold on education. So if we're going to, our teachers made an assessment of the curriculum that they felt best outside the political issues, and I'm not a fan of supporting, most of you know where I'm at, right, Melanie? They made those decisions based on what they thought was best for the kids. The issues with Pearson then become political and monopolistic. If we're going to take on Pearson, then I think we need to go full bore. We need to stop offering AP classes and go with dual credit. We need to encourage our parents not to do the SAT test in 2016 and do SAT, even though they'll both be aligned, and say no to it. It's not just about the curriculum that we select and from the suppliers this year. It's a broader issue. So I think, one of the things on the table is we do a one-year contract with some provisos that say this is how we want the procurement process to look, and this is what we want to do from a teacher selection process, which has a check and balance for everybody in it. And then next year, we provide some more direction. Because I do think if we start looking at it's less than 100% compliance with the TEKS and adjusting the curriculum, we're going to be, we might as well open it up, because what's the right number? We know in math today we've got 3 options, H&H, McGraw, and Pearson. Well, we'll have to go back and look at that. That's one area. Then we've got the other areas. Just think that we're not ready to, remanding it back is a good idea, but I think if we're going to take on Pearson, it's got to be a much broader decision by the board. We're going to take on Pearson. We'll make that public. But we're also going to take them on by not offering AP tests. We cannot have it both ways. Parents have to, if we are going to protect them politically by not buying from Pearson, then we're going to ask them to protect us politically by not having their kids take AP classes. Because it's no different. Pearson is providing the tests for AP classes.
I don't know if this is necessarily the AP discussion topic, but I will say that I would not support that, because I'm getting lots of good college credits, some of those AP tests that have come my way. But I have to say, I think that, there's a parent responsibility component to it, that you talk to your kids about what they're learning and you enforce your values where you see fit. I've had the experience with my own children of dual credit and AP, and I think the rigor that they've had in their AP coursework has been much higher than what they've had in dual credit. Although I'm a fan of dual credit as well, because it's the guaranteed credit, if you pass. So, but I don't know that I would support.
But they're both Pearson issues. That's my point. Is simply, respectfully, they're both Pearson issues. That's why they're tied together.
Right.
In one case, we're feeding the machine of Pearson by the AP classes because we see the benefit to our students. In another case, we're going to restrict what our teachers have said is the best curriculum for most of our students because it's Pearson. And so in one case, the parents are okay making that decision, and we're being asked as a board, and we're going to restrict the decision for the parents. That's where I'm coming from.
Ms. Latham.
I agree that we should probably have a workshop on AP coursework versus dual credit, but that's not the agenda item we're looking at tonight. I also agree that the teachers put some time and effort into reviewing these books and preparing this list. But I still think that it warrants us bringing this back up next month and providing us that chart. How close does the second runner-up, Matt, meet the TEKS, and can we bridge that gap and show us exactly which ones we absolutely just cannot get away from without going with Pearson, and then next month we're able to make the decision of if we have to buy a Pearson book, we do a shorter term purchase on that book. And then we still don't mess up your timeline too bad if we do it next month, right? Okay.
Dr. Rogers. Dr. Rogers has a comment.
Ms. Latham, we would at least ask that the board consider at least approving those non-Pearson items tonight. At least that moves some of it off the table. We can get started on that. Actually, today, EMAT, the system that you order through the state, opened up today, and so at least we could do that. The question that comes to mind is those items that, for instance, elementary social studies, the only text that is 100% TEKS, and I know you talked about giving some flexibility on that. The only text for elementary social studies that's 100% TEKS is a Pearson product. So that puts us in a little bit of a bind. But even if we could move on all the other items, that would remove a lot of those off the table.
Well, I think the original discussion that was kind of thrown out there was that where secondary options existed, that were also 100% aligned. And in the case of that social studies, there was no other secondary option.
That's correct.
So the ones that we were talking about, the list that you sent us, were those items where there were other options. They simply weren't chosen for reasons that the committee, those options, the reasons that the committee chose, and that's how they chose their materials. Ms. Duke, did you have a question?
Well, I just had a statement. If we were going to separate the vote, let's say now, and table any part of it, I really think it's our diligence and our job to have a special meeting, because I don't think it's right for us to have everyone wait another month and then we keep delaying. I know our schedules are busy, but if we're going to put this stress on them, well, then we have to do it also. So, and as soon as they could get the information ready, we have to make a date for a meeting no matter what. So
I'm fine with workshops.
no, this wouldn't be a workshop.
Well, the next board meeting's second week of May.
It would be a special board meeting.
Okay, a special board meeting, whatever. So we'd come together again and we'd talk about it. I apologize, but I'm not going to leave this point. We cannot in one case say it's good to promote certain things with Pearson because we get some value and not others. If the direction of this board is to not support Pearson, then I think we need to make that decision tonight, that the direction to the staff, unless Pearson is the only option from a curriculum selection, we want you to come back with another option, period. If that's the case, I'm telling you we are setting a precedent for bigger decisions because we were taking on Pearson. Our teachers have recommended, and I'm not a Pearson fan, that Pearson for these subjects is the best thing for our kids. We're telling them no. Go back and rethink it. And by the way, Pearson's good enough for us to get AP credit for our kids, our own kids. I don't say that disrespectfully because my kids have gotten it as well. But at some point we have to say, what are we in for? If we're all in for all the kids or not. And I'm concerned about the timeline, frankly, of another board meeting because we're spending a lot of time together the next few weeks. And I love it, but it's a lot of time, and it's a lot of time for our staff. If the answer is don't buy from Pearson, let's just make that decision tonight, and we can remand it back. Otherwise, I think we should proceed and do a one-year contract with some provisos that protect us to give us time to do this right and think through it. My final comment.
Ms. Cox?
Mr. Miller, it's the unknown of the cost. I don't agree with that. You've seen our financial workshop and where we're at. You always say that's a teacher. So are you willing to cut a teacher to pay for?
That's
yeah.
lots of teachers.
So
well, I think that's a fair question. What is the answer? What is that?
Well, I didn't really get a chance to run all those numbers before tonight. I wish I had of. I would just say in some of the very quick math I was doing there in my seat, you're looking at, I think we have 7,300 students enrolled in algebra, geometry, and algebra 2. So if I just look at the math, the high school math portion, you're looking at anywhere from $400,000 to $600,000. So a couple $100,000 difference. That's for the high school math. That I didn't do the math on out for elementary social studies, all 6th grade levels. So
that would have been the cost for our kindergarten and first graders to have an extra teacher in the class. So.
Well, hang on a second. So I do like that thinking. But what if we went with H&M? What's the cost?
For HMH, I did not look at the pricing because I was looking more at what the recommendation was. I will tell you that between the three, Pearson had one of the less expensive prices, if I could say that. But that obviously doesn't factor into any of our decisions because we look with the teachers at alignment to the TEKS.
Yeah, so the economic model here is not $400,000 and $500,000 to do K and 1. It's what's the difference between Pearson and the second alternative, or what's the difference of Pearson for 8 years, which I don't have an appetite for, versus 1. That's what we need to see, because that's another problem here. We're being asked to approve this, and we don't know what kind of money we're agreeing to.
Well, and that's the reason.
Well, it's a different reason to remand it back, though. I think if we want to see.
We've listed a whole bunch of reasons why we want to give it back to them and let them bring it back to us in May, and it wouldn't affect our timeline.
But I don't know that, I think there's been different points made, though, and I think that I don't know that I'm willing to say, and I'm not sure that that's what everyone else is willing to say here, is that we're taking a stance against Pearson. To me, I think I do think that we have to believe in the choices that our teachers have made. I do think that we can make some provisions on the district side of it related to Common Core, regarding to materials that we purchase in house and district, that there should be no mention of that, period. The piece that gives me confidence mostly is that I know these are always secondary resources. It's a resource. It's a aid. It's not the curriculum. But I do think, and where we are at this point, to me, I feel like we're hamstringing our staff if we continue to hold on it. Well, at this point, I say we move forward with the recommendations, because from what the information that was shared, I didn't feel like there was really some good, viable, strong number 2s for instructional materials. Is that correct? Is that a correct assessment?
I think on the state adopted list, there was
I'm
a
talking
struggle.
about.
Yes, there was a struggle. If you want us to go off the state adopted, go off the state adopted list, then we would have to convene the teachers to look at options that weren't even on the list to begin with.
Right.
But from the state adopted list perspective, with all the different things that they looked at and weighed when there was choices, whether it be engagement of students, alignment to the TEKS, you have their thinking at the end of the day.
I have a different question.
Yes.
We have to buy books this year. Can we wait till next year?
That's a very good question. And my concern would be high school math, because the TEKS are changing. And so if we don't have a resource that shifts with those TEKS, that could put our teachers in the boat of really making some different things as the TEKS up there have moved around. In social studies, it's more an update of resources. So while our teachers could go another year, they were skipped a long time ago originally.
They've been waiting 14.
Yeah. So I know,
George Bush is still the governor of Texas. It's okay.
Right. We've overcome that for 14 years. So but the high school math would concern me from a TEKS perspective. Some of the AP materials that are on there are rather aged, dating back to 1999 and 2001. That goes back to the larger AP conversation. So that would be my only thing I'd throw out for waiting another year.
Thank you.
And my other concern is that I think as a board, we've come to this a little late in the game. Yeah. And I think that moving forward, I think that if we begin the conversation of, okay, as we look at instructional materials in the context of, there's a very real political component to Common Core, and which is tied to Pearson. But I'm not, like I said, I don't like them. I don't want to spend any money with them. But I'm also not willing to have substandard materials because of that, because we're not fully reliant on it. So, okay, are there any other new comments that need to be made related to this before we can have a motion or anything? Ms. Vaughn?
I was just going to say the same thing, that we came into this a little late and kind of put the staff in a bad spot. So, and I think it's not a new comment, so never mind.
I guess if it's okay, I'd just like to say thank you to 3 groups of people. Y'all, for taking this so seriously. There's nothing more important than what our students learn in the classroom. So I want to say thank you for all your time and effort in weighing these decisions. It's a much more complex world that we live in, and I know that's not easy. And I want to say thank you to the teachers who are still out here in the audience, many of them. If y'all could stand up if you served on these committees. And I had a number 3, but I lost it. So, but thank you. Thank you all so very much, everyone, for taking this all so seriously.
Thank you. Does anyone have a motion to make?
I'll make it. I move that we approve the instructional materials proclamation for 2015.
As is? Okay.
I'd like to amend the motion. No, I can amend the motion before it's voted on. We have to vote on the secondary motion.
Okay.
So I'd like to amend the motion so that it says that we accept the instructional materials allotment, that any materials that are purchased from Pearson are under a contract term not to exceed 1 year, that the procurement contract include language that supplier, something to the effect of, supplier shall assure LISD that there are no references to Common Core state standards. In the event that there are, some remedy would be in place. And that the district would provide direction to teachers and staff to do their best not to purchase any materials that have references to Common Core state standards.
That was a lot of words.
Jeannie's got it.
So,
Jeannie's got it.
mhm. Oh, do we need a second for the amendment? Do I have a second for the amendment? And essentially, the amendment is the 1-year contract and the provisions related to Common Core, correct?
And
For-
district provide direction to staff.
Okay.
Third.
So that is the amendment. Is there a second to the amendment? Okay, Mr. Miller, I think that motion failed because we don't have a second.
So now you got one.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Vaughn and a second by Ms. Latham. Are there any other comments that need to be made related to this motion? What?
Can he remake an amendment without the 1-year contract? I like the rest of the wording.
Yeah, I like the, well, she could,
I could make another motion.
there could be another amendment. The problem with the amendment is the 1-year contract.
Well, can we have discussion? Okay, we didn't get a second. All right, so I'd like to make a motion.
Amendment.
I'd like to make amendment to the motion that it's the same language excluding the 1-year contract for Pearson-related materials.
There a second?
Okay, with that, then I've got a question. Ms. Rapp, what is the contract term that we'd be buying these materials for?
The contract term that we bought the materials for last time was 8 years. The next big chunk, if you want to go in big chunks, there's 1 year, there's 4 years, there's 8 years.
So in the absence of any term, both motions on the table have us buying an 8-year spending money for 8 years with Pearson.
Yes.
Okay.
Unless
I want to make sure I understand that. We don't want to do business with Pearson, but we're signing up for 8 years in either motion. Okay.
Any other comments or discussion? Ms. Vaughn?
Ms. Rapp, do you have any idea? Sorry.
Don't go away.
Do you have any idea off the top of your head what 4 to 8 years difference would be? I mean, if you don't, that's fine.
Yeah, I really don't. I would imagine it would be fairly close when you're talking about a $20 difference from 1 to 8 years. While that does add up over a large number of students, that's not a huge difference. You know, used to you're talking books were like $100 and something and things like that. So I imagine it's somewhere under the $20, but I don't know how much.
Okay, are we ready for the vote? Oh, did you have something to say?
Nope.
What? Right, so the amendment is
All the supplier stuff.
stipulation regarding suppliers, protection against Common Core, district provided direction to staff. All right. All those in favor? And that, is your hand up or down? Okay. That's Ms. Vaughn, Ms. Duke, Ms. Hassett, Ms. Sheffield, Mr. Miller, Ms. Cox, and all those opposed? And that's Ms. Latham. Okay. So we voted on that amendment. All right, now we need to vote on the motion to consider approval of instructional materials proclamation 2015. The motion was made by Ms. Vaughn. It was seconded by Ms. Latham. Are there any discussion or comments related to that? Okay, all those in favor? And that is Ms. Vaughn, Ms. Duke, Ms. Hassett, Ms. Sheffield, Mr. Miller, Ms. Cox. All those opposed? And that's Ms. Latham is opposed. Okay. We waded through that. Okay. Moving on to consider approval of College Street Elementary Reconstitution Plan. We had a great deal of discussion over the last few months regarding this and have had lots of materials to consider. Is there anything additional you need to add, Dr. Riddell? No? Okay. Are there any other comments that you did not have answered in any of our past discussions? Mr. Miller?
I noticed on the document that we received, which is, I was glad to see is very consistent with what's on the website. There's a little bubble and with a question mark. That wasn't clear to me what that is in each of the areas.
When completing the template, if there are questions on each section, you click on the question mark and it answers the question that you may have. For example, what it means by reconstitution determinations.
Oh, a help button.
Yeah. Right. It's a help button.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
All right. All those in favor?
Wait, we don't have a motion.
I'm so sorry.
I make a motion to approve Ms. Sheffield.
Thank you, Ms. Latham. Thank you, Ms. Duke. That's right, Mr. Miller. All right, I have a motion by Ms. Latham, a second by Ms. Duke. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. All right, next I need a motion for the approval of resolution for Leela.
Make a motion to approve the resolution regarding Lewisville Lake Environmental Learning Area, LELA, and the City of Lewisville.
Second.
Okay, thank you. That's a motion by Ms. Latham, a second by Mr. Miller. Are there any questions or comments? I believe Mr. Gilmore is still here in the audience, and he could probably answer any questions you may have. Anything? Okay. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. We look forward to that, Mr. Gilmore.
Thank you so much.
All right. Do I have a motion for our next item?
Motion to approve inclement weather resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Latham. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. Motion by Ms. Latham, a second by Ms. Vaughn. Are there any, well, Dr. Burnett, do you want to address this with us, or are there any questions for Dr. Burnett? No? Okay. All those in favor? And that also is unanimous. All right. Next, could I have a motion for our next item?
I recommend approval of memorandum of understanding for LISD to serve as the fiscal agent for communities and schools.
Thank you, Ms. Latham. Do I have a second? Oh, thank you, Ms. Vaughn. All right. We got to this one late last time, and there was some questions about it. So, Ms. Smith, I believe you are in our. Would you like to come? Oh, and Commissioner Eads is also here. I don't know if I just didn't know if the board might have some questions. There were some questions last time, and first of all, I just want to thank you all for the work that you do for our children. Really do appreciate it. It was an excellent event on Saturday, and we just thank you for the support you provide. Okay, questions? Yes, Ms. Cox.
Thank you for being here. I just had two questions. Well, one kind of a comment just for clarification, but one question is, I'm not sure if the cost is going to be $100,000, that we're going to get. It may actually be more. Looking at there's audits and there's a lot more things involved. But what I would like to know is the cost savings that you provide the district through the items the services that you provide to our school district.
Great question. So first, I want to say first point to what you asked. The intention of the fiscal agent relationship truly is to be a pass-through. So any expense that the district would be incurring with regards to like an audit for us, we would be paying the district back for. So there wouldn't necessarily be an additional expense to the district on that piece. All those other pieces are also separate. So we actually pay an auditor to come in and do the work on our own and those kinds of pieces. So there wouldn't necessarily be an additional expense to the district. But to your second point, the programs that communities and schools provides in the school district, we actually have 17 different programs in the school district, and what we do is work really hard to fundraise, like Mr. Sheffield referred to on Saturday night. We write a number of different grants, and that's part of the reason we want the fiscal agent relationship to work, is because, frankly, we're more competitive when we have that partnership with the school district. And a testimony to that is our 21st Century Grant that we have been able to be competitive and win and bring into the school district with not additional expense to the school district, because we're manning the overhead of that. So there's about a $1.9 million cost that the school district doesn't see that communities and schools fundraises for to implement all of our programs, all those 17 different programs in the district. Now, there is a partnership. Dr. Riddell and I work very closely together to figure out which programs we're going to expand to, looking at the title campuses, how we can afford to do that, if the district can help afford pieces of that. And the district does pay a cost share for each of those specific programs, so 17 of those programs, but it's nominal in comparison. So it's about, I think, 20% of the actual cost to run those programs or less. Does that answer your question?
Are there other questions? Mr. Miller?
I appreciate what you guys do, Dana and Commissioner. And for those of you who don't know, this is your County Commissioner, Andy Eads. And we did have a fundraiser this weekend, and it was, it's it was the second one for us. And so when you look at things like reconstitution at College Street and many others, it's a key part of what we're doing as a district to provide for every kid. So overall, it's important. I think the questions that I had that I asked the commissioner and then talked to Dr. Rogers about are, the $100,000 up front and $70,000 a year. I mean, clearly the district is getting a substantial reinvestment back into the district. So I felt a little bit guilty taking all that money, because we said in here that we were going to be hiring someone anyway. So I think at least what I talked to Dr. Rogers about is that first year doing that $100,000, and then we kind of recalibrate and see if we can share a resource and lower your charge, or if it needs to be more. But I just wanted to lay that out in the discussions that I had. I'm supportive of doing it. Appreciate what you guys do. It's a big part of what we have to do in a district like this, spread like we are. So thank you, and hopefully this will pass.
Well, I would thank you, Mr. Miller, and thank you, members of the school board, and what y'all do. I will tell you that, I sit on the dais as well, and I think that it's important to focus on good government. And I believe that leveraging our public dollars and our private dollars, such as our fundraiser over the weekend, that's exactly what we're doing. And by increasing the efficiency of communities and schools, increasing the efficiency and effectiveness of your students and your programs here. We serve 1,970 students here in the district. And and our programs we're bringing back, as Dana said clearly, was $1.9 million in resources we're bringing to the district. And we're asking you to be our fiscal agent, just as 2 other districts have here in the county, Little Elm and most recently Northwest ISD. And both those districts, when we started the fiscal agency relationship with each of them, they did not incur a direct personnel increase and outlay directly associated with us. They may have increased their back of house operations as far as HR or their accounting department, but it wasn't directly associated with us, and it was an expansion they needed to do already. And through the partnership, we were to leverage those dollars and do an offset of some of their overhead that they already need to incur. So we'd really appreciate this continuation of partnership. And I just want to thank y'all for considering this. And your staff has been great as we've worked with y'all since December to consider this. And they've had a lot of very technical meetings with your staff, and I appreciate the spirit of cooperation that we've had as we deepen this 20 years of partnership that we've had between our 2 agencies. We've office and portables behind Dell Jackson and upstairs here in the bowling center, and now we have our own flagship planted here. And I'll tell you, we do value the relationship we've had for 20 years with the district, and part of this is proximity. Because we're down the street, we're at the Colonial Savings Building on the southwest corner of Main and 35, and so we realize this is the center of our hub of our 6 school districts that we serve here in Denton County and also in Bridgeport. And so we want to be close for our caseworkers, our students to be able to collaborate here with the home office. There's efficiencies there. And we also, the biggest number of students that we serve in those 6 school districts is LISD, and we're very proud of that. So we think it just makes sense.
Can I add 2 things to that? One important piece for us is when my board has looked at our strategic plan and expansion, a key focus that they've had is not expanding into new districts, because I'll be really honest, we have new districts approach us all the time to expand our programs, which is a compliment, but what our board is really looking at is going deeper into the districts that we're at, and Lewisville is the prime one that we're looking at, because frankly there are so many title campuses and so many students that could benefit from our services that we just haven't been able to expand to yet. So I think in the next several years we're going to continue to go deeper where we are so that we can continue to help Lewisville students even more. But then the second thing I wanted to say was I really need to compliment y'all staff. I have been blown away and blessed by their help and by their achievement, and I need to call out Dr. Burnett specifically because our very first meeting, he asked me 2 questions, and I thought it was a testimony to the kind of staff that we have. And one of the questions he asked was, now, is this going to lay anyone off at Northwest ISD? He was concerned about people getting laid off in another district, and I think that's incredible. And the answer was no, just so everyone knows. No, he's getting laid. They have plenty. They're good. They've got jobs. They're going to have jobs next year, too. So that's not a big concern. And the other thing...
I was hoping the answer was going to be yes.
I know you have some beef with their CFO, but... I wasn't going to bring that part up. And the second thing that he asked me was, is this good for kids? And I really do think that this is what's going to be good for kids. I think it's a win-win partnership. So I hope you guys agree. Any other questions I can answer for y'all?
Well, thank you.
We
do. We appreciate all you do and all the services you provide, and I think we would love to see you on additional campuses. So
we would too.
That'd be awesome. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right. All those in favor? Oh, okay. That is Ms. Latham, Ms. Cox, Mr. Miller, Ms. Sheffield, Ms. Hassett, and Ms. Vaughn, and Ms. Duke is abstaining. Okay.
Can I make one quick comment,
you
please? I encourage everyone to go online for communities and schools and see the award winners. The Student of the Year is an amazing, amazing story. Her name is Jazz from Lewisville High School, and if you just have a need to cry, just watch this video, because this student puts us on a level that we should all follow. And so I just appreciate the relationship we have with communities and schools.
Well, it was wonderful, too, that all 3 winners were all LISD people.
I didn't want to say that.
So we had the Teacher of the Year was from Lakeland Elementary as the Volunteer of the Year. and then, of course, Jazz from Lewisville High School. So it was awesome.
Not that Miss Sheffield's competitive or anything.
Just so y'all know, I abstained because I'm on the executive board for communities and schools.
Yes.
So I just didn't want y'all to think I don't care.
She loves communities and schools. Okay, moving on. Do I have a motion for our next item?
Make a motion to approve food service management company.
Thank you, Ms. Latham. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Duke. All right, motion by Ms. Latham, second by Ms. Duke.
I'd like to speak to my motion.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll give him a chance to get to the microphone. How are you tonight?
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Rogers, leadership team. Hello, Ms. Latham.
It's good to talk to you again, Mr. Martin. Mr. Martin and I have a past.
Let's get a long drive home.
So, Mr. Martin.
Yes, ma'am.
You probably already know what my questions are. So, I question why we would go with the company you have recommended versus the other that appears in the bottom line would, I'm not sure save us money is the right word, but put more money back into our food service fund. And I'm also very troubled that the 19th largest school district in the state of Texas only had 2 bids returned.
Yes, ma'am. There's a couple of factors, I think, for that on that last question. The TDA, USDA, kind of drives the bid process with districts, and this year they required a 5% bid bond to be posted with the bids, and for Lewisville that would be approximately $1 million. We did a pre-bid meeting, and we had 5 different organizations come to the pre-bid. We had numerous people, but there was 5 different that I can remember, and they were the largest, as well as a couple others. I think between the number of bids that are out in the state of Texas and that dollar requirement, they had to make a business decision of where to put their assets and where to put their time. And so I think that, and then going out to the campuses and seeing what's going on at the campuses.
So we did allow those that wanted to bid to tour.
Well, absolutely. Yep. We visited 3 different locations in elementary, a 9th grade center, and a high school.
And how many companies were on those tours?
I believe there were 5 different companies. There was numerous people with each company. So I want to say we had about 15 people going on the tour.
But about 5 different companies represented? And why are you recommending this provider over the other when it looks like the other would put more money into our food service fund?
I think it's basically, from a cost standpoint or from a return standpoint, it's really about even on the returns. There was some cost, as it was listed on the bid tab, that weren't figured in their proposal. LISD actually has Pizza Hut franchises. It's the districts, it's not Aramark's. And so if we were to self-operate, we would still have those Pizza Hut franchises. So if we were to offer Pizza Hut products in the district, we would be paying those royalty fees. The kids love it. It's a big item, participated at it at many of the campuses. So that would be included, have to be included in one of the vendors who did not include that in their costs if we were to continue to keep Pizza Hut. There were a few other costs that I went back and looked at and compared the last 5 years. I think those weren't included in their proposal, that I think we would be, either not providing enough to the students, and or it would be something that would have to be looked at as an exception to the budget.
Yeah, because we didn't get that detail. So, okay, well, thank you.
And okay, that's it.
Ms. Cox?
Yeah, I would just like to continue on with Brenda's question. Could you elaborate or what made Aramark stood out over the other vendor? And then also just to make a comment that whichever vendor we go with, I'm big on the whole food chain, and so I really want to make sure this vendor has a variety of color on our children's plates, and that we have fruits offered to our kids on a daily basis, or whatever that is. Apples, it's not applesauce, that's apples, oranges, bananas, whatever it is, that our kids are getting to eat a well-balanced diet, not just all one color every day. I think they need to make a conscious effort for that.
Well, probably some of the other areas that from a services standpoint, that were listed here, is that the management team that was proposed in the two different organizations, one had the current provider was listed 18 team management group that would be working at Lewisville, and the other group had 13 employees. We're at around 17 or 18 right now. I think as large as the district is, as wide as we are across our boundaries, that they just had a more comprehensive staff and the way they were going to lay it out and support. And I think 18 to 13 was fairly significant in that proposal, as well as Aramark has a national purchasing program that they're involved in, not just school districts. They're in colleges and business dining, sports arenas. The other group, they're two good bids. I mean, they're two outstanding bids from the standpoint of food presentation, and the ability to serve. SFE is a rather new company. They began in 2004. They're growing. They're becoming less of a regional one and becoming more of a national company. But Aramark provides a little bit more of a national program. They do larger districts. They have served largest districts than LISD. SFE's largest district has 34,000 students. So LISD would be their largest district, where Aramark has larger school districts.
And we've had a successful relationship with them, correct? With Aramark?
Yes, ma'am. I provided, on a basic, if you were to look back at the last 5 years, their financial returns are right in line of what's being proposed, of what we have currently.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Miller?
Yep. Mr. Martin, on the page that shows the food service management company tabulation, guaranteed return.
Yes, sir.
The 1.5 versus the 1.6, could you just tell me what that is again?
Yes, sir. The basic program, LISD's child nutrition program, and it is LISD's child nutrition program, is roughly $21.5–22 million. You pay your bills, you run your program, and at the end of the year, there's a guarantee, and both of them provided a guarantee. If that return is not going back to the district of that amount, the guarantee would be met by both of their management fees, up to their management fees. So if it was $1.2 million, then they would return that up to their top line of management fees.
So there's about a $250,000 difference between the two on that. And I agree with Ms. Sheffield. We have had a good relationship, and I also agree with Ms. Cox. There's opportunities to tweak, and I would hope that this would be an opportunity for Aramark to maybe sit with folks and understand those things. The $80,000 for the Pizza Hut, and I know everybody will say, well, Pizza Hut sells a lot of pizzas. And I'm sure, my kids buy a lot of pizzas because they say Pizza Hut. But it's my understanding that the pizza is no different regardless of the brand. So if we're paying $80,000 for that brand, do we know what that drives? Because I know that a year and a half ago, we didn't have Pizza Hut, and then we brought that in. Do we know what that drives in additional revenue? Does it really offset the $80,000?
Yes, sir.
I know we think it does, but can we quantify it?
I don't have that answer to you right now. I could provide that to you, but it's significant.
So I would like to go back to that number separately from a year and a half ago and what was projected, and look at pizza sales and see what happened.
Are there any other questions? Okay, I think we're ready to vote. Thank you, Mr. Martin. All those in favor? That's unanimous. All right, do I have a motion for the next item? Someone?
I make him. I know. Okay, give me just a second. I have to make sure. I make a motion to approve summer renovations initial guaranteed maximum price as or without. I have to choose my words carefully. No, we can't do that. Scratch that, Jeannie. I need to word this correctly. I make a motion to approve summer renovations guaranteed price for the proposed scope of work as outlined in our action item on page 149 of our board agenda book.
149 is not that item. Oh, it's not on mine. Okay.
Page
That is, that, yeah, that's,
Okay, mine's 150, so I'll go with that, though.
Let me clarify that I am referring to the page in our board agenda book that is titled Action Item, dated April 13th.
Right.
CSP 2402-15-2015 Summer Renovations Initial Guaranteed Maximum Price.
With the proposed scope of work, that was your point, correct? Yes. Okay. Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Latham, a second by Ms. Cox. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
I understand this is probably common industry practice, but since most of these projects have been designed by the architect already, it seems like we're paying $1.5 million for a lot of work that's already been done. So maybe somebody can address that. Second thing is, I don't know that anybody explained to us why Bolin needs a new HVAC for the computer department. Not sure that was just explained to us, so I would like someone in IT to explain that.
They're moving in.
Oh, they're moving out.
I thought they were coming up to answer the question for me. I was going to stay in the back. I thought they had a great answer for you. Good evening. Let's talk technology first. It's my understanding that the load required in our technology facility here has created excessive heat and requires a new air conditioning system. Technology's here. Maybe they can talk a little bit more about the different pieces they've added to that particular room. But that is my understanding. So we're adding new air conditioning systems to the technology room there.
You're talking about the server room, correct?
I am. Yes, I am. So I'll give them a chance to speak if they'd like to. I'm sorry, what was your first question, Mr. Miller?
The architectural fees.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. Our purchasing department's here. We can talk contracts. Dr. Burnett may be able to fill you in on that.
The architectural fees, they haven't billed us for these yet. As part of the project costs and billed under the contract we have with PBK.
So, hang on, David, or I'm sorry, Patrick. So when they are part of the fees, we know a lot of work has been done already to get us to this point with these projects. They've been prioritized, had some level of design. So we're going to pay another $1.6 million.
No, sir. No, those are the total fees on these projects.
Right.
That includes the schematics, the designs, the engineering, and all the work that goes into the planning and design of the project.
Yet to be developed.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Yet to be developed.
No, they've done the work. They haven't billed us for the work.
How could they do the work if it wasn't approved?
Well, we approved the work in December when we approved the architect's contract. We approved them to go forward with the planning and design of the work to get it so we could go to bid on the work.
So if we didn't bid these projects out, would we owe that money?
If we didn't bid the project,
If we didn't continue with these projects, would we owe that money?
We would be responsible up to a point, and it's as it's defined in the contract.
Okay.
Good evening, Board. It is my understanding from talking to Mr. Williams, based on over 2 years of issues with the HVAC system in the data center, that one of the units can't keep up with the load. So this isn't a new problem. And so at their recommendation, they brought engineers in on their own and let us know that this would be the best recommendation. And the systems are, I'm not sure of the exact age of the systems, but we do rely on the maintenance department to make these recommendations.
Mr. Miller, if I could say it perhaps a little differently, the data room that has all the equipment that controls the district has a backup air conditioning unit in it. It is a redundant system to keep the climate at a certain level to keep from damaging the equipment. When this building was built almost 10 years ago, the amount of equipment in that room was much less than it is today. It is taking, the data room equipment's grown so much, it's taking about 30% of the backup air conditioning unit to keep it cool on a daily basis. There is no redundant system. Should the backup system go down now, there's not enough capacity to have a backup system to keep the temperature at a level that will not damage the equipment. All this is trying to do is just to add some capacity to the system so there's a true redundant system so that if in the event of an air conditioning main breakdown, this district can still operate.
And the funding for all of this, Mr. Williams, comes out of the facilities budget, not bond money?
This project is scheduled to be bond money.
Except for the freezer at Timber Creek.
So let me ask this, because we did have a facilities workshop on this, and I was unable to attend. For those of you who were there, I mean, this was all discussed. Were there any concerns? Could someone? I mean, we haven't had an opportunity to.
Well, that's why I asked my last question, because I don't recall the HVAC system for the server room in that workshop meeting facilities workshop meeting that we had. Did I miss something? No, I didn't think I did.
Well, it's been on this, if I may, it's been on this, go ahead, Mr. Williams, because it's been on this list since December.
Yes, sir.
What has not changed from the facility discussion is a reclassification of projects based on priority ones and twos. Twos would be system issues, priority ones would be safety. So I think that the list stays static even with those two priority schemes in place. Is that correct?
I would say that is correct. This Bolin data room air conditioning to create the redundancy has been on the list since, I think the first time it came as an information item since August. So it might have been titled something a little bit different than that, but it's been something that the district's looked at for almost a year.
And in regards to Ms. Sheffield's question, if I remember correctly, when we looked over this at the workshop, we all were, as I would say, in agreement of the items. The big question was the bathrooms. That was what we all had the questions on whether those were going to be added in there. But everything else, there wasn't any discussion about leaving something out or not wanting to do, not seeing the importance of it.
Anything else? Ready to vote? Okay. So I have a motion by Ms. Latham and a second by Ms. Cox. All those in favor? And that is unanimous.
Ms. Sheffield, it is worth noting that this is an initial GMP. What this allows us to do is to proceed with the ordering of those long lead items, the HVAC units. We will be bringing it back with a GMP after we get the bid that was submitted late that we could not count. So we have to bring this back to you again.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Burnett. All right. Moving on into consent. Consent item L2F7, high school personal finance course materials, is being pulled per administration's request. Are there others that need? What? Oh yeah, just a second. Okay. Let's do. Who needs to pull one?
L2E1.
Okay, Mr. Miller is pulling. Hold on. Oh, L2E1. That's Internet Access Products.
Just trust me, Ms. Duke.
Okay.
I just didn't hear you, Mr. Miller.
Okay. Is there another one? Mr. Miller, is that it?
For me.
Okay. Anybody else?
If we have questions.
You have to pull it.
No, you don't.
No.
No, you don't.
Ms. Hassett you want to address that? Well, which one do you want to pull?
L2F1.
Okay, L2F1. And why don't you address the easement in our motion and discussion? Okay? Okay, so do I have a motion on the floor?
I make a motion to approve all consent agenda items with the exception of L2F1, L2E1, L2F7.
Thank you, Ms. Latham. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Duke. All right, that's a motion by Ms. Latham, a second by Ms. Duke. Is there any discussion related to any of these items? Okay, Ms. Cox.
I have a question in regards to L26. Looks like this is a new pest control company that we're looking at. And so I just want to make sure, it looks like now the companies all have noted on all the windows and doors of times of spraying, and when they do that, are we going to be having that same with this particular company?
Yes, ma'am. We'd be taking down the current signs and having the vendor will be printing those and putting them up within 2 weeks, within the next 2 weeks. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. One more question on I have to match my numbers here, LF4.
L2F4.
2F4, right. The bleacher inspections, what is the increase due to in cost? It's quite a substantial difference.
Yes, ma'am. We every 3 years we inspect the tall light poles for the district. This is the third year. And the cost of that is in the neighborhood of about $80,000. We do interior bleachers 1 year, exterior bleachers the next year, and then every third year we add light poles to it. Nationally, the last few years, real tall light poles have had a problem. Some have fallen. Some of the 80-foot stadium light poles have fallen around the country. A few years ago, one manufacturer had a default in their construction process that created some havoc. And so we've taken a proactive approach, and we inspect the wells. We inspect the metal. We hire a third-party engineer to really give us a good assessment that these poles are safe. And so this is the third year. That's the increase of that. And I'm happy to answer anything else.
Ms. Hassett wants to address. What? Oh, you did? Oh, okay. I don't know if everybody had the chance. We did get the updated resolution for the easement. So hopefully everybody feels comfortable. Okay, good. Okay, so if there are no other questions related to that motion, then let's go ahead and vote on that. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. All right. Mr. Miller, would you like to make a motion?
No, but I'd like to have some
Well,
discussion.
you can speak to it. You can speak to your motion.
I'll make the
Or do you not
motion.
want to make it at all? Ms. Latham can make it. She likes making motions.
No, I just want to go home eventually. I make a motion to approve consent agenda item L2F1.
Oh, she's got
E1, I'm
F1
sorry.
as one of-
E1. L2E1.
Thank you, Ms. Latham. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Duke. All right. Comments?
So I've had a lot of discussions today. I guess I'm not going to go into the fidelity of the procurement process, but I would like for technology to talk about why this is the best decision. So I think there are a lot of things absent from this. Kind of a current state snapshot of the network, a future state, and then, frankly, when I look at our infrastructure, which is a Cisco-based infrastructure and Apple-based infrastructure, and I see who we're buying from a network infrastructure, I don't see us buying from the same caliber of companies. So I'd like to understand our point of view behind that.
Sure. Thank you. During the procurement process, the bid process, we listened to your request, and when we wrote the bid, we wanted to provide redundant internet, and there's specifications around that. We looked at bringing the internet into this building, into another part of the district, as well as both lines into this building, and from a cost perspective, not trying to replicate everything in this data center over on the other side of the district. When the people brought back their proposals, the chosen company could meet the timeline. It was E-ratable. They actually, though they're not considered a tier 1 supplier in this area, and the POPs, the point of presence that connect them to the internet, they actually own the lines. And any new lines that would need to be run, they would own those and the conduit, and they would not be leasing them to anyone else. We also included secondary in case, for some reason, the company had an issue with their construction or any of their timelines. We have alternates the way this was written. I believe, I've been here almost 3 years. One of the bidders, there was a history with them that wasn't so great, that I wasn't present for. There was other people here that were. So all those factors combined led us to doing a scoring matrices as part of the process, and the one who scored the highest was the one we recommended.
Thank you. So I was talking to, I don't know if it's still Mayor Pro Tem Gilmore or Councilman Gilmore. We share some dark fiber with the city of Lewisville. Did we consider leveraging that in this?
I don't believe so, sir.
Okay. Would that be something that might be beneficial to us?
I'm not sure the fiber that you're referring to, so it's hard for me to answer that question without that knowledge.
Could we have someone look into that? I mean, TJ knew about the partnership on that and the shared asset that we have. We both share on and off that network. It just seems like that may be one path for us that could save us some money. Now, I think what we're up against, regrettably, is the E-rate reimbursement. And I feel like we're jammed in and we don't have much room here. So, again, I'm not questioning the fidelity of the procurement process. I'm just telling you that it seems to me, and I write a lot of these contracts for my customers, we have one of these things is not like the others. It relates to the caliber of companies we're procuring from within our infrastructure and building out this broad and robust 21st century learning environment with the instructional technology. So, I'm not going to support it, but maybe it'll pass. I'm not going to support it because I think I'd like to have seen the design work and that type of thing. But I think anything we can do to take a look at City of Lewisville, what we could leverage there, and maybe drive down some of the costs while benefiting from the E-rate would be helpful.
Latham?
This one makes me nervous. This is pretty much a no-name company that we have had issues with in the past. You're right. We do need our own ring. We do need to be able to replicate. But to bring it to the board so close to the deadline that it has to be turned in order for us to get an E-rate, that makes me even more nervous. So if this passes and this company repeats what they've done to us in the past, you're going to be on the phone a lot with some angry people.
Sure. The only comment I would have is the company I was referring to isn't the one being recommended, so I believe you have more knowledge than I do about the past. And there is a difference between residential service and business grade service, but I appreciate your comments, and we did a lot of interviewing, and there was concerns across the board. I definitely wanted to meet what the board had to ask as far as redundancy, because it's a different day and time now with these devices going home with students, and I totally support it. And I work here. I want this to work, and I don't want to be up here in the middle of the night worrying about stuff either. So we all did. We had meetings with each vendor, and then we've had meetings with Craig.
I'm sorry, if I could, there is a difference between residential grade and commercial grade. This vendor's primary business, and I know everybody kind of vacillates over, is residential, right? So at this size of, let's say, 6,000 teachers and 53,000 students, we are pretty much their largest customer. And, I've seen the pops coming in from the Hebron side and from I think the Garden Ridge side, and, that makes sense. I don't know if it's a good design, but, it's a design on the table. But wouldn't we agree that this is not their core business? Unless somebody knows otherwise from the references or from the market research.
Right.
Like Mr. Johnson alluded to, this one is a little different. Is the fact is we are asking for secondary vendor approval. So for some reason this vendor cannot provide the service. We do have we have backup, and my understanding, our current provider, whose contract is expiring June 30th, runs on leases out the fiber from one of the secondary vendors that we have on the list. So we do know they've been able to overall provide the job. Now, I know today we went back and we were looking. They do have many other businesses that they provide. They do provide for McKinney ISD. They provide for Argyle, the city of Argyle ISD. They do, Lake Dallas, Prosper. They do have some larger accounts in the Central Texas area that are non-residential. So they have a large presence in the state as well.
Did I also read that they do the city of Allen? Is that what Collin College? Did I make that up in my
Yes,
head?
you're correct. All the Collin College campuses, as well as University of Texas in Austin, Baylor University.
And we received references on.
Yeah, the references came out very, very good.
Mr. Miller.
So, thinking about University of Austin and their, some of the Google Fiber initiatives, curious if we looked at any of those, especially with the profile that we built around with Apple. It seems to be a good opportunity of drawing them in. So curious about that. But the other thing is, some of the references where they moved away, they brought in their own dark fiber. Did we compare what it would cost for us to run fiber from or lease lines from two locations for redundancy and do it that way instead of use Groundicom?
The scenarios that we submitted and wrote into the bid were to replace the single line as we have today with a higher speed line, so one. Then there was bring 2 lines in, go into different pops. So if we had a fiber cut, all the traffic would have another place to go down. The third scenario was a line into Bolin and a line into the Colony High School. And we were talking about this when Dr. Waddell was president. At that point, when Scott brought to his attention, he said, well, the Colony High School is a little bit aged facility. Pick another location on that side of the district. So we picked Hebron High School. So the fourth choice was a line here, a line into Hebron. So those were the scenarios people played against when they brought back their responses.
So I think that's a great point. The design I would expect would not be 2 lines coming into Bolin, because if Bolin gets shut down, doesn't matter where the lines are. A site into Bolin, the colony's sufficient infrastructure to support a data center for this purposes. So are we sure that this is the best design, or it's just the design they responded to?
I would say it's the design that meets our need right now that would take us into the next 36 months. Looking at, I was taking a look and bringing information to Ms. Brown regarding what type of gear we would need to outfit a second data center to really truly be redundant and really fail over all the way over on the other side of the district. When we started looking at bond funds and just considering the cost, it seemed like it might be a likely candidate for a little bit longer range plan for a next bond to fund. And it was a very good alternative we felt would meet the needs of the district and support 1 to X for sure and keep connectivity for us and the kids as a business without incurring the cost of replicating everything in that data center at another location. Does that answer your question? Does that make sense? You're welcome.
Ms. Cox, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just want clarification. So if this is not approved, we lose our E-rate. First question. Second is, do Grande Communications serve all of our areas in our district? And then the third is, to what Mrs. Latham was saying, is if there are complications or problems, what is our recourse as a district if they were chosen as a vendor?
I believe by working with our E-rate consultant, the answer is yes, we would lose our E-rate. Can you repeat your other 2 questions real quick?
And the second one is, do they serve all of our areas in our district?
As far as, can you clarify your question?
And do they have lines and services available in every area of our district?
No, ma'am. No, they would have lines that they could bring here. There's, I think, a big build out in the colony, but they would absolutely be able to serve our internet need. But as far as being able to bring individual internet lines into every building, I don't believe that's the case. And lastly,
well, how much money would that be to lose on the E-rate?
It looks like about $80,000. It says our anticipated expense, if we go with what what we proposed, would before E-rate is $156,000. We get a 50% reimbursement, so it'd be about $78,000 roughly.
Okay, and then the last question was the recourse if they don't perform to the level that we need to. What is the recourse if this vendor is chosen?
That's a contract question.
Well, it is our contract, and it was one of the items that we put in the bid was an LISD contract, and that would look for our needs, meeting our best needs. So, for example, if the service is out for an hour, it's an automatic $500 charge. If it's out 24 hours, it's $5,000. Now, if it's out 24 hours, then we can cancel the contract. If it's out 3 times in 90 days, 1 hour or more, then we can cancel the contract.
Are there any comments,
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
One final question. If we don't sign this tonight, we lose $78,000 in E-rate money.
Yes, sir.
If we sign this tonight, we're obligated to a 3-year contract and at least this trustee is uncomfortable with. $78,000 cost to us for this to be crammed in the way it is. No disrespect to anybody. And what I heard was there might be some data center options that if we really looked at this strategically and how we designed the IT infrastructure within the district, we might design it differently. So we've got a 3-year contract for a current design, but in fact, if we look at it, there may be a different design where the data centers go. Next year, when the E-rate comes around, let's just say we make no changes and our spend is the same, would we be able to recover $78,000 next year? Or 50% of whatever we're billing?
If we don't agree, or if y'all don't support, we would go back out to bid or go through the process again next year to qualify for the E-rate.
Mr. Martin, isn't it just to clarify, the $78,000 that we're anticipating is E-rateable is based on this bid? Correct. And if your scope of the work changed, if you did change your design and did some other things, then you would expect that to be a change in price, which would in turn be E-rateable in future years.
That's correct.
Assuming E-rate remains with us.
Yeah. So I'm willing to walk away from $78,000 to do this right. That's my position. And I'm talking about a holistic architecture that includes the data centers being in the right place with the right investments. And we had money to do those types of things this year. We've not seen any recommendations, but my opinion is that this is not the right decision for us long term.
Any other comments, Ms. Hassett?
Doesn't the current contract end in June, though? So if it ends, then we don't have a contract for the rest of the year?
Well, we can go out to bid. The issue is that what we'd be signing up for today to get the E-rate, it's a great point, by the way, but what we'd be signing up for today to get that E-rate is a 3-year deal that is not necessarily the most optimal data center backup, et cetera, et cetera. So we would have to renegotiate something by June, but I think we've been hoping to get some infrastructure recommendations, for quite a while, and now we're under just a replacing of the primary and secondary lines for the internet. So,
and the E-rate actually expires this month, or does it actually?
It has to be submitted for that would be a reimbursement for next year's contract. It has to be submitted to USAC by Wednesday night.
But the contract does have, I think, protections for us if they fail to perform.
Yes, there would be secondary vendors that could.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Are there any other comments? Okay. All those in favor? And that is Ms. Vaughn, Ms. Duke, Ms. Hassett, Ms. Sheffield, and Ms. Cox. All those opposed? That's Mr. Miller and Ms. Latham. Okay.
Ms. Sheffield, I make a motion that we approve consent agenda item L2F1.
Thank you, Ms. Latham. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Duke. All right.
Can I make an amendment to that?
Oh, because she's the one that pulled it.
Okay.
I would like to postpone it until budget talks in the June timeframe.
Okay, so, well.
It's already been seconded.
Yeah, we can do it like we did a minute ago. She has an amendment. Your amendment is to table it until when?
Well, closer to budget, June.
Okay. Hold on, I'm trying to get to it.
It's like 3.
Do I have a second for that amendment? No, not for the amendment.
Sorry.
Like
Ms. Hassett made an amendment to table it until further budget discussions. No, this is painting.
Painting.
Is there, okay, I haven't heard a second.
Second.
Mr. Miller seconds that. Okay. Ms. Hassett, could you speak to that motion, please?
Due to the item that we had approved last month when we approved the facilities that had painting and all the other additional things last month. I'm uncomfortable with the additional expense of painting. I understand that sometimes there's a backlog. There's 330 work orders that the schools have requested, and we don't have enough maintenance to do it quickly. And so then we will hire outside work to help us. But in this budget, with an unknown budget right now, I'm unwilling to sacrifice teachers so schools could get painted quicker. I know that's probably not a very popular stance, but.
Okay, but
Postponing it.
till when? Till June?
June.
So no
Budget.
painting until June if that amendment?
Well, no
passes?
extra.
Till the agenda.
Okay. Dr.
can I-
Rogers. Yes, Dr. Rogers.
The only negative of that is, as Ms. Hassett said, there are a lot of classrooms that need to be painted, and so by delaying it till June, which is when, of course, they would be doing a lot of that work, then even if you approve it in June, there will be a group of classrooms that won't get done. That they're on a cycle too. I mean, what's the average? How long is it between times to paint classrooms, Mr. Williams?
In a long-range cycle plan, it's 10 years, but to paint entire campuses. But we have many rooms that do not go that time. Teacher use, a change of use room, a lot of different ways of delivering instruction differently requires some of the rooms to change, and so. It's that. Whatever the board wishes, we still have a painting crew, and we will sure do everything we can do to meet the needs. So.
But the painting crew is 6 people, 7?
7 people, yes, sir. We have 7 people.
Is this dollar amount, isn't it already in our budget? So we're not adding an extra fee onto our budget. We've already budgeted in there. We're just approving it because it's over the value.
We're approving vendors. We're approving
Exactly,
vendors.
thank you. But we're not doing anything to affect the budget.
Correct.
By approving the vendors if they need to use them.
Correct. Because the amount may or may not be spent based on decisions or needs.
And this is one item that is in the maintenance operating budget, so it allows us to do some things through the maintenance
And
operating budget.
I mean, I have to go to the other side. I have to say, I want the classrooms painted. We've put it in the budget. These kids, we don't want these teachers and students to go into these crappy looking classrooms, and we're not adding that dollar value. So anyway.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
It's already been budgeted for a year.
Correct. It's a vendor list. Right. Okay. Are there any other comments? Okay. Well, we need to vote on the amendment, and that amendment would be to table this item until additional budget discussions. All those in favor of tabling? That's Ms. Hassett. And all those opposed? And that is Ms. Vaughn, Ms. Duke, Ms. Sheffield, Mr. Miller, Ms. Cox, and Ms. Latham. Okay, so we need to go back to the original motion made by Ms. Latham and Ms. Duke to approve the purchase of the painting services. All those in favor? And that is Ms. Vaughn, Ms. Duke, Ms. Sheffield, Mr. Miller, Ms. Cox, and Ms. Latham, and all those opposed? And that is Ms. Hassett. All right. And if there is no further business, this meeting is adjourned, and the time is now 10:30. Thank you for hanging with us.
Unplugged because the screen would be.